If you were forced to follow a deity and inherit their profession, which one would you choose? The war goddess wielding a holy patterned greatsword? The void spirit skilled in shadow assassination? Or perhaps the king of the underworld who governs all the undead? Or would you refuse the god's blessings and become the artifact bearer abandoned by all deities? At this moment, standing on the awakening platform, I felt utterly confused. The scene before me was completely different from what the school mentors had described about the awakening ceremony. According to the textbooks, all professions are granted by the gods. Awakening individuals step onto the awakening platform, touch the stone tablet, and only one deity will appear, choosing you to become their follower. From then on, you would follow this deity, growing stronger by slaying monsters and offering starlight sacrifices, step by step. However, before me stood not one, but 4 deities. The goddess clad in golden armor, holding a holy patterned great sword, the mysterious figure hidden beneath a black cloak, the elder leaning on a staff made of eerie white bones, and a warrior whose body was damaged yet stood proudly. The first to extend an invitation to me was the war goddess. She looked down at me from her elevated position, her gaze as if she were observing an ant, filled with an unsettling arrogance. Awakener, I have sensed your diligence and devotion. Follow me, and I shall grant you the glory of a warrior. In the next moment, a gray light radiated from the ancient stone tablet and a line of text instantly appeared before me. Follow the war goddess, change to the earth-level profession warrior. Seeing this, I couldn't help but squint. This arrogant war goddess claimed to sense my devotion, yet she offered me a mere earth-level cannon fodder profession? Without hesitation, I shook my head and turned my gaze to the second deity, an enigmatic figure shrouded in a black cloak and veil, exuding a strange aura. In an instant, a more powerful black totem soared into the sky, instantly obscuring the previous gray light. Oh my! The second profession! Below the platform, Wang Biao, who had just awakened this level profession, coiling dragon monk, turned pale and suddenly stood up, shouting, "How can one person awaken 2 professions?" Lin Xueming and Lu Ruyan beside him also changed their expressions instantly. Lin Xueming, who had just mocked me, excitedly rushed to the podium, questioning the principal. "Principal, this must be a mistake. Xiaofan cannot awaken 2 professions, he is just a waste." The principal and others on the podium were also dumbfounded. The great director hurriedly stopped Lin Xueming. "Calm down, student." Meanwhile, the old principal, Lin Zhangnan, slammed the table and stood up excitedly. "Good lad. This is definitely an S-level profession. I told you, I never misjudge." Lin Zhangnan suppressed his inner excitement. Having been in education for most of his life, although he had never seen it with his own eyes, he had heard of such extremely rare cases where multiple deities chose someone simultaneously. Just as everyone on the podium had their own thoughts, the crowd below erupted once again in a wave of commotion and exclamations, even louder than before. "Heavens! Look at the awakening platform!" The old principal Lin Zhangnan and others quickly stood up to look, and upon seeing it, even they, who had seen much, couldn't help but gasp. The ancient stone tablet on the awakening platform had once again burst forth with brilliant light. An orange beam shot straight into the clouds. Follow the void spirit, change to the S-level profession shadow assassin. This was my 3rd profession option. Standing in the center of the ceremony, I shook my head once more. The S-level profession shadow assassin, even among the entire assassin rankings, was a renowned existence. But I was not in a hurry. After all, there were still 2 deities left. I waved my hand at the void spirit hidden in the black robe. "I know you're anxious, but please hold on." Upon hearing this, the void deity trembled with anger, yet was left with no choice. I could even read a hint of awe and fear in the gaze of the 3rd deity directed at me. The 3rd deity was an old man, leaning on a cane, with a head full of white hair. At the top of his bony cane danced a ghostly blue flame. The old man exuded an intimidating presence without anger, yet his gaze held a trace of appreciation. "Awakened one, I am the king of the underworld. Submit to me, and I shall grant you the power to control life and death." What a domineering tone! I thought to myself, it seemed that even among gods there were distinctions of superiority. In the next moment, a line of ancient white characters floated before me. "Submit to the king of the underworld, and be promoted to SS-level profession undead cataclysm." Instantly, a dark cloud of ghostly shadows suddenly appeared like a mirage, rushing towards me. Upon closer inspection, what floated within that cloud was not mist, but a multitude of eerie white skeletons. That black cloud was, in fact, an army composed of trillions of skeletons. Outside the awakening platform, everyone saw a brilliant orange light shoot up into the sky, piercing the clouds. The entire sky seemed to be engulfed in an eclipse, instantly shrouded in endless darkness. Billions of white skeletons formed a cloud of annihilation, pressing down on everyone's heads, the suffocating aura of death and despair making it hard to breathe. Looking closely, among that army of the undead, the immortal skeleton warriors were merely the lowest rank of troops. Towering undead beasts, elusive undead assassins, and skeletal generals riding on skeletal warhorses. Even a colossal skeletal dragon that blotted out the sun spiraled through the clouds, bringing with it waves of blood and carnage. This was a scene worthy of the apocalypse. Not only were the fellow students in disbelief, but even those seasoned awakened adults felt a chill run down their spines. Meanwhile, across the Dragon Kingdom, all news channels were urgently broadcasting a bulletin: breaking news, we interrupt this program to bring you an urgent report. Just moments ago, our skies were covered by billions of skeletal clouds. Residents are advised to remain calm. This phenomenon has been confirmed as an anomaly caused by a certain class changer in our country. In a secret military district of the Dragon Kingdom, a white-haired old man adorned with numerous medals looked sharply at the apocalyptic scene in the sky. "Old Chen," someone beside him said anxiously, "I've already sent people to investigate, no matter who it is. Our military will ensure their protection at the first opportunity." The man referred to as Old Chen was now drenched in sweat. His profession was Five Elements illusionist, and as a top-tier general of the Dragon Kingdom, he had exerted all his strength to barely keep this anomaly contained within the borders of the Dragon Kingdom. Otherwise, this scene would have likely swept across the entire world, and by then, the enemy nations would be aware, leading to endless troubles. Meanwhile, at the awakening ceremony site, the old principal Lin Jiangnan had completely lost his mind. Undead cataclysm. This is a special omen that can only be triggered by professions of SSS level or above. And it is of a doomsday level never seen before. He spoke excitedly and incoherently. The last one to trigger the undead armies crossing anomaly was merely the S-level profession necromancer. That senior from the Dragon Kingdom could lead thousands of skeletons and single-handedly slaughter a city. The first to react, the head of the Dominion Guild, hurriedly took out his phone to contact the higher-ups. His action instantly awakened the leaders of the other three major guilds, who, disregarding their dignity, anxiously contacted their own guild leaders from the podium. These seasoned veterans knew well that an SS-level profession was no longer a character they could handle. It had to be the guild leader who personally stepped in to recruit. For decades, the four major guilds had stood in a stalemate in the Dragon Kingdom, and today, my appearance was destined to break this deadlock. In the center of the ceremony, I remained oblivious to the turmoil outside. The choice I faced would directly determine the fate of my life. I looked towards the last deity, the warrior whose body was broken yet still stood tall. He slowly opened his mouth, his voice hoarse and weary. Yet it thundered in my mind, "Are you also a traveler from Blue Star?" At these words, I trembled violently, cold sweat instantly soaking my back. I was not from this world, but from a blue planet. This secret I had never told anyone. Even the three gods before could not see through my origins, yet this broken god before me saw right through me at a glance. Could he also be? I was filled with shock, countless questions swirling in my mind. But the god seemed very anxious, speaking rapidly. "Do not follow any gods. This is all a conspiracy of the gods. We are all pawns, sacrifices. Gods can also be killed. We can become gods too." I was left bewildered by these words, and suddenly, the god's form began to slowly dissipate, as if being executed by some kind of rule. Wait! I had countless questions in my heart, but it was already too late. Before me, the last line of text appeared: "Refuse the gifts of the gods, become one abandoned by the gods. Obtain unknown level profession. Artifact user. Artifact user. Though the divine nature is incomplete, one can still enjoy sacrifice. Killing any monster allows one to sacrifice its starlight to oneself, thereby gaining one of its attributes, talents, or skills. At the moment this option appeared, I was horrified to discover that the three lofty gods before Meth, goddess of war, the spirit of the void, and the king of the underworld had blood-red bars clearly floating above their heads. Health points. Trillions of health points. My worldview collapsed completely at that moment. So it turns out, gods also have health bars. I instantly understood the meaning of artifact user. Originally, only gods could enjoy sacrifices. After awakening, one had to sacrifice the starlight obtained from killing monsters to the god they followed to gain new power. But possessing divine nature meant being on equal footing with these gods, enjoying the right to sacrifice. An artifact user no longer sacrifices to the gods but to themselves. The attributes, talents, and traits of monsters could be utilized for oneself. Although it started as a blank profession, it had infinite growth potential, even the possibility of becoming a true god. Looking again at the three gods, one was arrogant and stingy, one was gentle and persuasive, and one demanded my submission. In their eyes, humans were perhaps just ants in their palms, toying with them at will. I choose the fourth one. At the moment I made my choice, the vast army of millions of undead began to slowly disperse. Immediately after, a brand new beam of light shot up from the ancient stone tablet. There's a fourth profession? The presidents of the four major guilds had just arrived at the podium and witnessed this unbelievable scene. This is unprecedented. But looking at this phenomenon, it clearly doesn't compare to the SS-level undead catastrophe. Principal Lin, student Xiao Fan, should make the right choice, right? Principal Lin Jiangnan was now high and mighty, as if he had already seen the first high school surpassing the entire capital city. He was about to guarantee it with a smile when he saw me on stage making my choice. The entire venue fell silent. Everyone wanted to see how this sensational young man would ultimately decide. As the 4 beams of light from the stone tablet slowly faded, only a seemingly extinguishable, broken torch totem remained, circling around me before finally entering my brow. The crowd erupted in an uproar. Principal Lin Jiangnan's smile suddenly froze. No way. Xiao Fan, he actually didn't choose the undead catastrophe? The presidents of the 4 major guilds were also stunned, their eyes filled with disbelief. How is this possible? He actually gave up a catastrophe-level profession? Is Xiao Fan crazy, having experienced great joy and sorrow? Lin Jiangnan charged onto the awakening platform like a mad bull, hysterically shouting, "Xiao Fan, get out here!" Such a dramatic outcome sent the media present into a frenzy. People love to create gods, but they love to destroy them even more. Dear audience, who would have thought that when faced with so many excellent professions, classmate Xiao Fan would actually choose the worst one? The SS-level profession of undead calamity has been wasted just like that. What a pity. The responsibility for this outcome lies squarely on both Xiao Fan himself and the teachers of First High School. They must be held accountable for Dragon Country missing out on an undead calamity. The live stream was filled with various opinions, and many had already begun to engage in online bullying. The 4 presidents on the podium could only shake their heads and sigh before turning to leave. They had thought they had found a rare talent, but unfortunately he was disappointing. However, while some were deeply saddened, others were overjoyed. A waste is ultimately a waste. Even when the opportunity is fed to him, he can't grasp it. Wang Biao couldn't help but let out a long sigh towards the sky. Lin Shuiming, who had just been acting mad, was still shaken but couldn't suppress the smile creeping onto his lips. I didn't expect Xiao Fan to be such a fool, to not choose such a good profession. In his eyes, resentment that had been hidden for 3 whole years surfaced. In that case, don't blame me for not holding back in tomorrow's trial tournament. He turned to Lu Ruyan with a grin and said, "Ruyan, you won't protect him in the future, will you?" Lu Ruyan shot him a playful glare. "What are you talking about, Shuiming? I'm just an ordinary classmate to him." That glance made Lin Shuiming feel immensely pleased, and his gaze towards me grew increasingly fierce. "Xiao Fan, you've been proud for so many years. It's time for you to learn how to be a waste in the trial tower." Just after awakening my profession, before I could react, I was transported to the trial tower by the ancient stone tablet. This was the final assessment for every new awakener. Outside the trial tower, in a corner, my homeroom teacher, Tang Weiner, was closely monitoring my perspective. She watched her student, whom she had taught herself, wielding a rough iron spear in the tower, taking down goblins with textbook-like precision. "Congratulations, you have killed the guardian of the first level of the trial tower. Trial tower, second level." Teleporting. A moment of dizziness washed over me as the goblin tribe and the leaders' corpses gradually disappeared. The scene shifted, and I was transported into a vast and dark cave, surrounded by slippery stone walls and mud. This was the second level. At this moment, I felt more excitement than nervousness. Just by sacrificing the goblins from the first level, I had already gained the powerful talent attributes of savage and beast. Blood boiling. What surprises would the next monsters bring me? As I pondered, I felt something stirring in the soft, damp soil beneath my feet. In the next moment, black roots, resembling old vines, suddenly burst forth from the ground. Seeing this, I quickly jumped back as 2 spiked vines lashed down where I had just stood, carving deep grooves into the earth. I reacted swiftly, raising my spear and slashing fiercely. 30. As the 2 damage numbers appeared, the vines snapped and fell to the ground, writhing like living creatures. Only 30 points of damage? I was somewhat puzzled. However, before I could think further, the ground around me began to stir again, and more vines erupted from the soil, at least a dozen of them, surrounding me completely. I was quick on my feet, and while they hadn't fully grown, I used my spear to precisely sever them one by one. Still, it was 30 points of damage. But around the severed vines, as if reproducing, even more vines burrowed up. I immediately realized that these vines could not be killed. They are merely attachments, and the only way to completely resolve the issue is to kill the host. I immediately grabbed my spear and charged toward the direction where the soil was surging the most violently. After navigating around 7 or 8 cave forks, an ancient tree root, thick enough for dozens of people to embrace, appeared in the center of the cave. Countless tendrils connected to it. Even more bizarrely, a gigantic human face had grown out of this root. At the same time, the pursuing vines behind me had also arrived. I no longer hesitated, raised my spear, and fiercely stabbed at the massive tendrils. 137. As a damage number popped up, its health bar appeared before me. Undying Treant Elite Boss Health 50,000. Danger Level High Risk. The long health bar was astonishingly high at 50,000. What was even more despairing was that, a few seconds later, a green recovery number suddenly floated above the undying Treant 100. So that's how it is. I instantly understood. This level tests the output capability of the professionals. The undying Treant has thick health and incredible recovery, making it impossible to kill in a short time. The longer it drags on, the more vines will sprout, and professionals with insufficient output will eventually be worn down to death. What a disgusting design, I couldn't help but exclaim. However, for me now, it might not be impossible to fight back. My enhanced beast blood boiling can significantly increase damage and attack speed during its duration, and killing a target can refresh that duration. These endlessly sprouting vines are just right for refreshing my buff. Outside the trial tower, the old principal Lin Zhangnan watched the situation on the big screen. Where more than half of the participants had already been eliminated on the first level, his brows nearly knitting into a fold. Damn it, who designed this trial tower this year? At this moment, the class professionals led by Wang Biao, Lin Xueming, and Lu Ruyan had successfully entered the second level. Facing the countless attacks from the vines, Wang Biao, as a dragon-style monk, immediately swung his combat staff, unleashing a dragon-pattern combat technique that instantly shredded the vines into pieces. Fortunately, this second level is still somewhat manageable. Just as Lin Zhangnan was about to breathe a sigh of relief, he saw Wang Biao also discover the secret of the vines, chasing all the way to the location of the host. When that massive tree root appeared on the screen, all the onlookers couldn't help but exclaim, "Oh my god! Is that the undying Treant? This thing would be difficult to kill even for a level 10 professional team. Who on earth put the undying Treant on the second level? That's so inhumane." In a corner nearby, the homeroom teacher Tang Weiner was also closely watching my perspective, deeply worried. With extreme skill, I was capable of clearing the first level. But the undying Treant on the second level was a gap that couldn't be bridged by mere skill. As a nearly blank profession, even with the best operations, I lacked the output to kill the host. However, under her worried gaze, I had already begun to attack the undying Treant's host. As a teacher of combat techniques, Tang Weiner immediately recognized my movements, almost twice as fast as during the first level. "What is going on?" she thought in surprise. At this moment, I was frantically outputting around the Treant's host. The host itself had no offensive means, relying entirely on the extending vines, making it a perfect output target. Beast blood boiling activated. Attack power and attack speed increased by 50, 179, 158. Damage numbers nearing 200 continuously popped up from the Treant's host. But this was not a simple output test. On the damp ground, thorns and vines were sprouting randomly every second. If not cleared quickly, they would accumulate more and more, but if I got distracted to deal with them, I wouldn't be able to focus on outputting to the host. This was the designer's test. But for me, multitasking was not a difficult task. These vines have instead become an excellent target for me to refresh my beast blood boiling. While I frantically output damage to the mother body, I used the tail of my gun to precisely sweep and sever the newly sprouted vines around me. Under the high intensity and focus of my actions, the undead Treant's health bar, which stands at 50,000, is visibly decreasing. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Finally, as my last shot pierces the body of the undead Treant, that seemingly bottomless health bar finally empties of its last sliver. The massive Treant's roots suddenly snap and wither inch by inch, turning into a cloud of dust. The undead Treant collapses before me. At the same time, a large amount of experience and white light flows into my body, and this troublesome boss directly allows me to level up 3 times, reaching level 8. However, what interests me more is the abundant sparks left on the ground. Sacrifice the sparks of the undead Treant. The sparks, like a swarm of fireflies, immediately swirl around the tip of my gun before gradually dissipating. Sacrifice of the undead Treant sparks successful. Fire Seed 20 gain talent entry photosynthetic recovery S-Rank. As the dark golden sparks dance, a chorus of ethereal voices resonates, as if celebrating the birth of a great entry. The entire dungeon trembles, as if something terrifying is about to descend from the void. I suppress my excitement and slowly open the entry panel. Photosynthetic recovery S-Rank effect. Derived from the undead Treant's formidable recovery ability. When bathed in light, all recovery effects are increased by 500. Additional automatically recover 1 of maximum health per second. Indeed, it's an S-Rank entry. Although this undead Treant is merely an elite boss, its formidable recovery ability is top tier among all monsters. A 500 increase in recovery effects means that the effect of using blood potions is directly quintupled, and skills with lifesteal or recovery effects will also see a 5-fold increase. Before I can fully revel in this, a familiar voice rings in my ears again. Congratulations, you have defeated the guardian of the second layer of the trial tower. Transferring to the third layer of the trial tower, in the blink of an eye, I am teleported from that dark, damp cave to an open swamp. Notice congratulations, you are the 5th awakened one to enter the 3rd layer of the trial tower. Remaining awakened ones in the trial tower. 47. I am suddenly taken aback. This means that including me, only 5 people have reached the 3rd layer, while the remaining 42 are still struggling against the undead treant in the 2nd layer. It's worth noting that this year, over 10,000 students participated in the awakening ceremony in Beijing, making this elimination rate incredibly fast. I wonder which madman designed the trial tower. It is truly brutal. So, what kind of cruel challenge awaits in the upcoming 3rd layer? I don't have time to ponder, as I see 3 humanoid monsters emerging from the dark, murky swamp. They grow out of the sludge, their bodies pure and flawless, their appearances enchanting, making even a righteous young man like me feel a surge of blood. A wave of melodic sound suddenly rushes towards me. Swamp sirens. I am startled and quickly dodge behind a nearby jagged pile of stones. The next second, a wide-ranging sound wave attack lands where I just stood, causing the entire marble slab to tremble slightly. Magical attack. Just as I expected. The guardian monsters of this 3rd layer are actually 3 extremely difficult swamp sirens. Their method of attack is not ordinary physical damage, but rather a wide-ranging, hard-to-evade sound wave magic. And the terrain of this 3rd layer happens to be an open swamp, with only a small area in the center surrounded by a few massive stone anvils for cover. Therefore, this level tests the challenger's ability to move and evade, or rather, their endurance. Realizing this, a smirk involuntarily appears at the corner of my mouth regarding evasion ability. I seized the moment when the banshee attacked, suddenly charging out and thrusting my spear at one of them. 150. However, the sound waves from the other 2 banshees followed closely behind, 2 waves crashing into my forehead. 150. 150. 2 damage numbers popped up above my head at level 8. My total health was only 500. Taking those 2 hits left me with just under half. I immediately ducked back behind the rock and the effect of photosynthetic recovery began to take effect, waiting for my health to fully restore before repeating the previous maneuver. After more than 10 minutes, I leaned on my rough iron spear and let out a long breath. Relying on this shameless and sneaky tactic, I finally managed to take down all 3 swamp banshees without any danger. Experience flashed, and I leveled up to 11. Sacrifice swamp banshee. The sparks of the 3 swamp banshees slowly dissipated. Swamp banshee's spark sacrifice successful. Gain skill water step B grade. The second skill was in hand. I hurriedly opened the skill panel. Water step B grade effect, a unique talent skill of aquatic races. Summons water currents to envelop the body, granting immunity to most slow control effects. Passive effect. Increases movement speed by 15. A supportive non-control skill. At this moment, I still did not realize that this seemingly unremarkable non-damaging skill would be of great help in the upcoming Trial Tower's 4th level. Just then, a system voice sounded again. Congratulations, you have killed the guard monster of the 3rd level. Trial Tower 4th level. Teleporting. Hint: in this level, it is not necessary to kill all guard monsters, you only need to survive and reach the central teleportation array. No need to kill the guard monsters? A wave of confusion arose in my heart. But after witnessing the malicious intentions of the designers in the first 3 levels, I couldn't help but feel even more vigilant. This 4th level must be a trap. A few seconds later, I was teleported to the 4th level of the Trial Tower. What awaited me here was not just a few monsters, but an entire ghost fire spider nest. Layers upon layers of webs transformed this place into a true spider's den. Anyone who stepped into this area would gradually be ensnared. These demon-like spider monsters would use their most adept means to devour their prey through the ghost fire toxin secreted from their fangs. This was an attack method with both fire and poison attributes, causing continuous damage from burning and poisoning that could instantly kill any tank class. As I stepped onto the web trap, I immediately felt a sticky obstruction. Water step. A surge of water rose from around me, slowly wrapping around my feet, creating a barrier of water. Feeling the lightness beneath my feet, I stepped onto the web again, and indeed, the sticky sensation was gone. I hurriedly took advantage of the time while water step was in effect and darted towards the center of the 4th level. However, despite my careful positioning, it was inevitable to get hit under the swarm of ghost fire spiders. I felt a sharp pain in my shoulder. I had fallen into the state of ghost fire toxin. 15 burning, 20 poison. In the next second, the dual continuous damage from the toxin and burning began to rise above my head. Keep in mind, this was just from being bitten once, stacking 1 layer of ghost fire toxin. If I were to be bitten a few more times, stacking 3 or 4 layers of burning and toxin, I probably wouldn't last a few seconds. I tensed up completely, constantly dodging and repositioning. After a while, disregarding everything, I charged forward, almost reaching the center of this level. Looking up, I could vaguely see the uppermost layer of the ghost fire spider nest, where a teleportation array was faintly glowing blue. I hurriedly climbed up in a few quick steps. However, just as I was about to step into the teleportation array, I suddenly halted. Looking back at the dense swarm of ghost fire spiders chasing me, a greedy and adventurous thought suddenly arose in my heart. I suddenly raised the rough iron spear in my hand and fiercely swept it towards the several ghost fire spiders that lunged at me. 10. Dozens of damage numbers immediately popped up. The health points of these ghost fire spiders were even lower than those of the vines on the second level, barely 10 points, and a single hit could take them down. There wasn't much time. I squinted, and with precision and decisiveness, the rough iron spear pierced through each of the incoming ghost fire spiders one by one. As the swarm of spiders chasing after me grew larger, I knew I couldn't block all the attacks completely. But before that, I had to kill as many ghost fire spiders as possible. At this moment, Tang Weiner, who was the only one watching from Xiao Fan's perspective, was suddenly stunned. What is Xiao Fan doing? He has clearly reached the teleportation array, yet he turns around to kill these ghost fire spiders? Doesn't he hear the prompt for the 4th level? Tang Weiner couldn't help but feel anxious. To her, my current actions seemed utterly futile. These palm-sized ghost fire spiders, even in large numbers, provided very little experience. Grinding them for experience was just a waste of time. Doesn't he know that if the trial takers reach the same level, the one who arrives first will achieve a higher score? Time is money. Xiao Fan, what on earth are you doing? At this moment, I was also in a state of high tension. On one hand, I had to ensure that no ghost fire spider got too close to my body, and on the other hand, I had to keep an eye on my health bar, which was continuously eroding due to the ghost fire toxin. Finally, as the swarm of spiders grew larger, I had to enter the teleportation array now. However, at this moment, my surroundings were already covered with the dense corpses of ghost fire spiders. Sacrifice the ghost fire spider's spark. I twirled the spear tip and hurriedly activated the sacrificial ritual at the last moment. At the same time, I stepped back, 1 foot stepping into the teleportation array. As the scenery around me spun wildly, hundreds of prompts appeared before my eyes. Ghost fire spiders spark sacrifice successful. Fire seed 1. Ghost fire spiders spark sacrifice successful. Fire seed 1. Finally, a pleasant voice echoed in my ears. Gain talent skill ghost fire toxin A grade. This incredibly delightful prompt instantly filled my heart with joy. Indeed, fortune favors the bold. At this moment, all the risks were worth it. This was the reason I had just risked turning back to kill the ghost fire spiders. It's important to know that among all abnormal states, the type of monsters most restrained is poison. As the vast majority of monsters are affected by toxin effects, the second most restrained type of monster is fire, as most furred and wood-based creatures are weak to fire. The ghost fire spider's ghost fire toxin just happened to combine these two abnormal states, making it a powerful weapon for monster hunting. Check skill effects. Ghostfire toxin A great effect, a unique toxin of the ghostfire spider species that grows in lava poison swamps. After use, it can attach ghostfire toxin to the weapon, and hitting the target will add a layer of burning and a layer of deadly poison effect. Burning continuous damage and reduces target's defense by 10. Deadly poison continuous damage and suppresses target's recovery effect by 50. What a great ghostfire toxin! I couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Then, I began to survey the scene on the 5th level of the trial tower. Upon reaching this 5th level, the surrounding area had become much narrower, resembling an arena, with neatly laid marble on the ground. Just then, a series of tremors suddenly came from the ground. The guardian monster of the 5th level was about to appear. Soon, a massive figure appeared in my line of sight. It was a giant bear, its body as large as a small mountain, covered in coarse fur. Ghost Claw Bear Elite BOSS Level 15 Danger Level Extremely Dangerous. Seeing this, I immediately tensed the bowstring. The ghost claw bear in front of me possesses strength that could easily match an ordinary professional team. There's no place to hide in the surrounding area. However, I have no intention of surrendering. The thick fur on the ghost claw bear indicates that it has low fire resistance. Being a common creature type means it has low toxicity. And these are exactly what I need. The ghost claw bear let out a low growl and charged at me. Seeing this, I immediately allocated all my free attribute points to agility. After activating Water Step, my movement speed surged once again. When the ghost claw bear was only 4 or 5 meters away from me, I rolled to the side. Though it was a clumsy maneuver, I narrowly avoided this deadly strike. I dared not let my guard down for a moment and dashed towards the bear's rear. This was its blind spot and also the angle that took me out of its attack range. Then, I focused my gaze. Ghost Fire Toxin. In an instant, a flickering poisonous gas coiled around the tip of my gun. I thrust forward, striking precisely into the bear's thick flesh. 121. In the blink of an eye, the ghost claw bear suddenly sat back, its massive back scraping against the ground, creating a dent in the marble slab. At the same time, I successfully inflicted ghost fire toxin on the bear. The fur on its back ignited instantly, causing burn damage while also being corroded by the toxin. 20. 25. At this moment, the ghost claw bear became increasingly agitated, revealing its health bar. In just a few seconds, a small segment was rapidly burned away by the poison. Meanwhile, I took advantage of the speed boost from water step to quickly create a safe distance from the bear. Outside the trial tower, Tang Weiner watched my perspective on the monitor, her eyes widening in disbelief. I was wielding a long gun, moving around the ghost claw bear as if dancing, each strike precise and decisive. In contrast, the enraged ghost claw bear was like a clown, not even brushing against the hem of my clothes. What shocked Tang Weiner the most was the bear's health bar, which was plummeting rapidly. How is this possible? What kind of damage is this? Tang Weiner couldn't understand why a novice like me could deal such high damage in such a short time. Being observant, she slowly began to see the clue. She noticed that the reduction in the bear's health bar wasn't solely from my attacks. It seemed to be losing health continuously on its own, and at a significant rate. At that moment, the large screen of the trial tower began broadcasting elimination information. Those awakened who knew they couldn't break through to higher levels and were trying their best to survive in the tower to increase their scores were all eliminated. At this moment, in the perspective of the awakening ceremony's large screen, only Qin Yanran remained. In the footage, she was in an open duel arena, relying on the skill blood pattern sword rain to deal considerable damage to the thick-skinned ghost claw bear, gradually whittling down its health bar to nearly half. Seeing this, the old principal Lin Zhangnin's eyes ignited with a flicker of hope once again. Qin Yanran truly deserves to be a role model for our first high school. A woman who stands shoulder to shoulder with men. I believe Qin Yanran has a chance to break through the 5th level and achieve a perfect score. Director Zhang beside him chimed in enthusiastically. Isn't that right? If you ask me, Qin Yanran is our pride. Just then, an unexpected incident occurred on the large screen with Qin Yanran. What was supposed to be a sword aimed at the ghost claw bear's body veered towards its head. 169 critical hit. A weak point critical hit damage appeared on the screen. What seemed like a good thing to everyone turned out to show that Qin Yanran on the screen was a bit flustered. Previously, she was able to maintain a safe distance to execute the kite flow tactic because she deliberately controlled the sword she shot to hit the ghost claw bear rather than its weak point to prevent it from entering a state of rage. However, this time, she made a mistake. The ghost claw bear on the screen let out a furious roar as it was struck by the arrow, instantly entering a state of rage. Immediately, it lunged down and charged wildly towards Qin Yanran. Seeing this, she instinctively dodged, but in the vast duel arena there was no cover at all. The enraged ghost claw bear swiped once, and she was turned into a wisp of white light. At the same time, the announcement rang out. Awakener from First High School, Qin Yanran, has been eliminated. Final score 5th level. As Qin Yanran's perspective gradually turned gray, the trial of the last level professional was declared over. Principal Lin, witnessing this scene, couldn't help but curse angrily. Who designed this year's trial tower? One touch and you're instantly killed. Who could possibly defeat that ghost claw bear on the 5th level? Upon hearing this, Director Zhang hurriedly leaned in to whisper a few words in his ear. Principal Lin's face turned pale instantly as he whispered, "What? The military personnel designed it? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Just when everyone thought the awakening ceremony was over and began to leave, the large screen of the trial tower suddenly switched to another image. Those who were leaving turned around in surprise. Wait, how come there are still awakeners in the trial tower? Didn't everyone get eliminated? Then, everyone turned their gaze to the large screen of the trial tower. They saw an awakener who had never been watched before, holding a thick iron spear, moving with extreme precision, constantly positioning himself in the blind spots of the ghost claw bear. Meanwhile, the enraged ghost claw bear's health bar was nearly empty. Seeing this, the onlookers widened their eyes in astonishment. Look, the ghost claw bear is about to be killed. Wasn't there only 3 level awakeners from First High School this time? How could he possibly? However, the other awakeners from the same cohort had already recognized me. My god, that person is Xiao Fan. Upon hearing this, Wang Biao slammed the table, looking at me on the big screen in disbelief. How is that possible? Xiao Fan only awakened a blank profession, right? He couldn't possibly reach the 5th level of the trial tower. Meanwhile, Lin Shuiming beside him couldn't believe his eyes and loudly questioned, "No way. Xiao Fan must be cheating. How could a blank profession possibly kill the undying Treant with a health of 50,000? Principal, you must investigate him thoroughly. Cheaters must be severely punished." They had all personally experienced the trial tower, where each level was like a brutal hell. Xiao Fan must have cheated. Lin Shuiming's words immediately caused a stir, with a group of people shouting cheater in unison. As the clamor of doubt grew louder, Tang Weiner, the combat teacher, could no longer hold back. She had witnessed every step of my journey to the 5th level. Tang Weiner stood up, frowning as she scolded, "Everyone quiet down. If the health bar doesn't decrease with attacks, it means the ghost claw bear has been put into an abnormal state by Xiao Fan. Can't you all see this basic principle? Have my combat lessons been in vain?" Her words immediately silenced the guilty crowd. However, at that moment, Lin Xueming had gone mad, standing up to retort Tang Weiner, "Teacher Tang, you can't protect him just because you favor Xiao Fan. We all know that Xiao Fan only awakened a blank profession. How could he possibly put the ghost claw bear into an abnormal state?" Upon hearing this, Tang Weiner looked at Lin Xueming, her face showing a hint of displeasure, but she couldn't make sense of it herself. How could it possibly be that kid Xiao Fan? He's just a useless profession. No matter how good his skills are, he can't possibly reach the 5th level, right? Is there something wrong with the trial tower? Did that guy find a loophole? At this moment, everyone could see that the blood of the ghost claw bear was down to a sliver. Even if I ultimately didn't kill this ghost claw bear, according to the rules of the trial tower, the tester who dealt the most damage to the monster would achieve a higher score. Therefore, I was almost destined to be the first in this trial tower. At this moment, as I successfully stacked another layer of ghost fire poison on the ghost claw bear, a prompt appeared before me. Target has entered ghost fire poison state, with 10 layers of poison. A full 10 layers of ghost fire poison effect. This was the reason I could unleash such high output in a short time. One layer of ghost fire poison could only stack one layer of burning and one layer of poison effect, deducting only a few drops of blood per second. However, 10 layers of ghost fire poison could deduct nearly 100 drops of blood per second. At this moment, the steel fur on the ghost claw bear was almost completely burned away, and the poison had made its head spin, its eyes dazed. 121. With the continuous damage numbers exceeding 100 popping up from the ghost claw bear, its health bar was finally eroded completely, and then it collapsed with a crash. This massive experience shot me straight to level 15. Sacrificed the ghost claw bear's starfire. I unhesitatingly performed the sacrifice ritual. Compared to the vast experience, I was more eager to see what the sacrifice of the ghost claw bear would bring me. Ghost claw bear's starfire sacrifice successful. Gain talent skill barbaric charge a grade. Skill effect charge towards the target with unstoppable force, causing a stun effect upon hitting the target. What a great mobility skill. I couldn't help but feel delighted, but suddenly a familiar voice echoed in my ears. "Congratulations, you have cleared all levels of this trial tower. Would you like to open the hidden layer? The hidden levels screen will not be live streamed. There's actually a hidden layer?" I was momentarily stunned, then chose without hesitation enter. As soon as I entered the hidden layer, I suddenly heard a crack under my feet. I hurriedly looked down and found a crushed bone. It was then that I realized this place was filled with a chilling sea of bones from various monsters. There were even some creatures larger than the ghost claw bear, all of which had met their end by being devoured. What kind of monsters were placed in this hidden level? I couldn't help but feel a chill run down my spine. The madman who designed the trial tower this year could do things that were beyond what a normal person could predict. Just as I stood frozen in place, I saw a huge pile of bones ahead, where a dragon cub was curiously observing me. Dragons, one of the most terrifying races among all monsters. This creature, recorded in ancient legends from various countries, it no longer mattered who designed it. Xiao Fan knew very well that this seemingly harmless dragon cub in front of him was an existence that his weapon could not inflict even a bit of damage upon, and with just a gentle breath of dragon fire, it could turn me to ashes. I simply put away the rough iron spear in my hand and stepped forward. Even if I were to be eliminated by this little guy's dragon breath, it would be worth it. Getting a close-up view of a dragon creature was not an opportunity everyone had. Most ordinary awakeners would spend their entire lives without ever seeing such a high-tier monster as a dragon. What surprised me a bit was that as I approached, this young dragon seemed to be staring at me with wide eyes, curiously fixated on me, even actively requesting to sign a contract. If I hesitated for even a second, it would be a sign of disrespect towards the dragon clan. In the next moment, a special contract ritual emerged between me and the dragon cub. Since it was the dragon cub that took the initiative to sign the contract with me, the entire ritual went very smoothly. Soon, a prompt appeared before me. "Congratulations, you have successfully contracted the Obsidian Dragon Cub." On my panel, a unique summoning icon for the Dragon Clan appeared. I quickly felt a subtle connection with the Obsidian Dragon Cub before me, as if I could sense its thoughts. Suddenly, I finally understood why this Obsidian Dragon Cub chose to actively sign a contract with me. Reason was my incomplete divine essence. And this Obsidian Dragon just happened to possess such noble blood. From me, it genuinely felt a divine-like pressure. Although it was a bit strange, it was undeniably real. In other words, this still juvenile dragon clan regarded me as a true deity. Being able to sign a contract with a real deity was, even for the dragon clan, an immensely honorable thing. And at the moment the contract was completed, another prompt appeared before me. Congratulations, you have cleared the hidden level of the trial tower. You are about to be teleported out of the trial tower. Would you like to return the contracted beast, the obsidian dragon cub, to the summoning space? I immediately nodded return. At this moment, in the control room of the trial tower, Nie Xiaoyu walked in and saw the notification on the screen. This session of the trial tower has ended. All participating awakeners have been teleported out of the trial tower. Nie Xiaoyu calmly walked to the control panel. However, just as he was about to operate the teleportation array to bring the dragon cub out of the trial tower, he found that he couldn't locate the dragon cub at all. Subsequently, Nie Xiaoyu hurriedly pulled up the surveillance records of the hidden level. However, when he saw what happened in the footage, he jumped up instantly. What the hell? It succeeded? Nie Xiaoyu was so anxious he could have cried. Everything happening was too illogical. After they had gone to great lengths to bring this dragon cub back to the research institute, they had also tried to sign a contract with it. However, not only Nie Xiaoyu, but even those beast masters in the team who were over level 200 could not sign a contract with this dragon cub because they could not gain the dragon clan's recognition. At this moment, a cold sweat broke out on Nie Xiaoyu's forehead. If the higher-ups found out that he had lost this dragon cub, he might end up in a military court. Then, while quickly searching on the control panel, Nie Xiaoyu contacted their examiner. The dragon cub has been contracted by a newly awakened professional. This news absolutely cannot get out. Otherwise, it will not only attract the interest of various forces in the countries towards the dragon cub, but it will also pose a threat to that kid's personal safety. At First High School, at the awakening ceremony site. As the announcement of my successful clearance of the trial tower was released, the entire venue fell silent for a moment, then erupted into a tsunami of doubts. Cheating! It must be cheating! Don't let a useless profession ruin this session of the trial tower. Feeling that the moment had come, Principal Lin suddenly stood up. I have heard your concerns. Rest assured, I have been the principal of First High School for so many years, and I have never favored any cheater, so here it is. Principal Lin teased, a slight smile on his face. As the principal, I will act on behalf of everyone to request the examiner to thoroughly investigate Xiao Fan's record in the trial to determine whether he is engaged in any cheating. If cheating is found, we will not be lenient and will expel him. As he spoke, Principal Lin immediately exchanged a knowing glance with Director Zhang beside him. Director Zhang quickly stood up in agreement, saying, "That's right. Our First High School will severely punish any cheater. Such opportunistic individuals do not deserve to receive the ultimate reward from the trial tower." Upon hearing this, the crowd in the venue erupted in applause. At this moment, the examiner Yang Wen, standing at the awakening ceremony, found himself in a dilemma. On one hand, he had personally presided over the entire awakening ceremony and the trial tower. On the other hand, the unique space formed by the teleportation array of the trial tower had served the awakening ceremony for hundreds of years without any errors. This year's designer was a high-ranking official sent by the military, making the possibility of an error on their part extremely slim. Just then, Principal Lin sternly pressured Yang Wen, saying, "Examiner, I hope you will immediately contact the designer of the trial tower and thoroughly investigate Xiao Fan's cheating situation." Just as Yang Wen was feeling troubled, the communicator in his ear was suddenly forcefully connected. "Hello, I am the designer of this trial tower, Nie Xiaoyu." Upon hearing this, Yang Wen's body trembled. Both the designer's identity and military rank were far above him. He heard Nie Xiaoyu's undeniable tone through the communicator. "Did you see that Xiao Fan from First High School cleared the 5th level of the trial tower and entered the hidden layer?" Yang Wen immediately broke into a cold sweat. If this got out, it would be a clear dereliction of duty. At that moment, he heard Nie Xiaoyu say through the communicator, "I order you to immediately seal this information. No one is to know that Xiao Fan has ever reached the hidden layer. This trial tower only has 5 levels. There is no hidden layer. Do you understand?" Yang Wen quickly replied, "Report, sir." "I understand." His mind raced as if he had grasped something. "Sir, how will the results of this trial tower be calculated? Is Xiao Fan still in first place?" "What do you mean by how? Isn't he the only one who cleared the 5th level? Then of course he is in first place." Upon hearing this, Yang Wen let out a long sigh of relief. After hanging up the communicator, Yang Wen's expression turned serious and he took the microphone from Principal Lin Zhengnan's hand, stating authoritatively, "As the examiner of this awakening ceremony, I have consulted the designer of the trial tower for a response. I hereby officially announce there were no issues throughout the trial tower and Xiao Fan has not engaged in any opportunistic or cheating behavior, ranking first. Since Xiao Fan is the only trial participant to clear the 5th level of the trial tower, he has achieved a perfect score. When Xiao Fan comes out, I will personally award him the special prize for achieving first place." Upon hearing this, everyone present was left dumbfounded. This result was undoubtedly the final verdict. and there was no authority greater than the words of examiner Yang Won. However, Principal Lin was still somewhat unconvinced. How is that possible? Examiner, are you mistaken? To which examiner Yang Won coldly replied, Principal Lin, are you questioning the integrity of our military's examiner? Or do you have doubts about the trial tower designed with our military's involvement? With such blatant accusations thrown at him, Lin Zhengnan was both shocked and terrified, hurriedly waving his hands. No, how could I possibly question you? Just then, with a flash of light from the teleportation array, I finally emerged. The old principal, Lin Zhengnan, looked at the cameras around me that were immediately aimed at me, and with a kind smile, walked up to me. Congratulations, Xiao Fan. Congratulations on becoming the first place in this trial tower of Shanjing City. Truly, you are an outstanding student of our first high school, and you are our pride. At that moment, having just contracted with the little dragon cub, I was completely bewildered. In my impression, this old guy, Lin Zhengnan, was quite the snob and would never be so warm and fair to someone like me who had awakened a useless profession. At this time, Principal Lin Zhengnan gave Director Zhang a knowing glance. Director Zhang hurriedly brought forth the generous gift prepared by our first high school. Xiao Fan, this is an extra reward specially prepared for the first place in the trial by our first high school, 100,000 dragon coins. I hope it will help you in your future development, Principal Lin Zhengnan said, almost gritting his teeth as he looked at me. Although I had just been teleported out and didn't know what was happening, I could still gauge a thing or two from the splendid expression on Principal Lin's face. This old guy must have been forced into this situation. However, I was all smiles at the solid 100,000 dragon coins. And I spoke in a way that suited the occasion. Thank you, Principal, for your cultivation. I will definitely work hard and bring glory to our first high school in the future. My words made Principal Lin and Director Zhang's faces shift from green to white. At this moment, the chief examiner, Yang Won, couldn't help but scrutinize me closely, then seriously raised the microphone in his hand and said in a deep voice, on behalf of the military, I am here to present the reward to the first place of this trial tower, Xiao Fan. He then handed me an envelope containing a card. This is a weapon equipment exchange voucher for the military armory of Shanjing City. With this voucher, you can exchange for any piece of golden level equipment below level 30 at the armory. I believe it will be a great help for your early development. Upon hearing this, I was instantly delighted. It was actually golden level equipment. I didn't expect the military to invest so heavily in this trial tower. The levels of weapon equipment are divided into plain gear, black stone gear, bronze gear, silver gear, golden gear, and above that, dazzling, extraordinary, epic, and legendary high-level weapons. A piece of golden level equipment is basically worth 100,000 dragon coins in the market, and if it's a weapon, the price would be even higher. I could say that this trial tower had brought me substantial gains. In contrast, the expressions of the other awakeners sitting below the awakening platform were utterly fascinating. Lin Shuiming looked at the weapon exchange voucher in my hand, his eyes burning with jealousy. Why should it be? Lin Shuiming couldn't help but mutter, golden level weapon equipment, such things in the hands of a waste like Xiao Fan are simply a waste. His words immediately drew agreement and echoes from the crowd surrounding him. Exactly. So what if Xiao Fan got first place in the trial tower? A useless profession is still a useless profession. When he goes into a dungeon in the future, he will surely suffer. The military giving such a precious golden level weapon exchange voucher to him is simply a pearl cast before swine. The murmurs and doubts fell into my ears. From the moment I chose the fourth profession, artifact user, I had already anticipated that this group of fellow awakeners would gloat and mock me in every possible way. But I didn't expect that Lin Shuiming, who had always followed me and humbly sought my advice, would change so quickly. At this moment, a little brother of Lin Shuiming shouted at me, Xiao Fan. If you know what's good for you, just give the golden level weapon exchange voucher to Brother Shuiming. Keeping it in your hands is just a waste. Exactly. With your useless profession, what good is it to hold on to such a good thing? A chorus of mocking jeers rose from the crowd. Hearing this, I raised an eyebrow. Give it away? If it were you, would you hand over this golden grade equipment exchange voucher? At that moment, the voices of some indignant people gradually quieted down. Such a golden grade weapon, anyone who got it would never dream of giving it to someone else. Then, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, I swaggered down from the awakening platform, one hand holding the storage card for 100,000 dragon coins issued by the old principal Lin Zhengnan, and the other hand holding the golden grade weapon exchange card issued by the chief examiner Yang Won. The more I acted as if it were only natural, the more those who said a useless profession doesn't deserve rewards became defensive. Amidst the opposition and even curses, I walked straight towards Lin Shuiming. At that moment, Lin Shuiming showed no concealment of the malice in his eyes. You have never offended me in any way. On the contrary, you are a very good teacher. You shine so brightly. But have you ever thought about how I feel following in your wake? Every time you give your lofty guidance, it feels like charity. But from now on, it will be you who is humbled. I was taken aback by this and recalled that during my 3 years in high school, I had never held a condescending attitude towards Lin Shueming, who often sought my advice, nor had I ever been arrogant. However, in the eyes of some, no matter what I did, it was seen as pitying him. I understood. I couldn't help but chuckle softly, shook my head, and turned to walk through the crowd towards my residence. Just as I entered the stairwell, I saw Qin Yanran. I couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. The Qin group was a major player in Beijing, and Qin Yanran was the highly favored soul heir. Logically, she shouldn't have any connection to my shabby rental building. Unless this building was also part of her assets, but even if it were for collecting rent, there was no need for the little princess of the Qin family to come in person. While I was lost in thought, Qin Yanran stepped forward to greet me first. "Hello, classmate Xiao Fan." "Hello," I replied politely, but my mind was racing with questions. It seemed Qin Yanran noticed the confusion in my eyes, smiled gently, and explained, "I got your address from Teacher Tang. May I ask if you have a guild you would like to join, classmate Xiao Fan?" I was taken aback and smiled as I said, "I would like to join a guild for a stable subsidy. However, with the profession I've awakened, I doubt any guild would want me, so for now, I guess I'll remain a lone player. But many areas and dungeons are difficult to explore alone. It's hard to develop quickly at the beginning as just one person," she said, surprising me. "What exactly are you trying to say, classmate Qin?" "I'm sorry, classmate Xiao Fan. Please forgive my intrusion. I plan to establish a new guild under the name of the Qin Group and would like to invite you to join." I was stunned. This was explosive news. The Qin Group, which had never participated in the guilds of practitioners in Beijing, was actually stepping in? "Classmate Qin Yanran, you should know that the profession I've awakened is a blank slate, right?" I shrugged. "I know, but I also understand the significance of a blank slate profession being able to clear the 5th level of the trial tower. However," I shook my head and politely declined. "I'm sorry, classmate Qin. Thank you for the invitation. However, at this stage, I have some personal matters to attend to, and joining a guild would be a bit inconvenient." Unexpectedly, Qin Yanran suddenly turned and blocked my path. At such a close distance, looking into the eyes of the recognized beauty of the first high school, I couldn't help but hold my breath, marveling at her beauty. This girl? Could she be trying to use her looks to charm me? At this moment, Qin Yanran said with a beaming smile, "As long as you join my guild, you'll receive a base salary of at least 50,000 dragon coins each month. Once you awaken and become a professional, you'll need to spend money on equipment, potions, and various consumables for dungeon runs. After all, I'm not an class professional who is guaranteed a life of comfort from the moment of awakening." At this point, I calmed down and curiously asked, "Why did the Qin Group suddenly decide to get involved with the professional guild? You must know that the cake of Shangjing City has long been divided among the 4 major guilds. There's no room for a new guild to rise up. Even the Qin Group would find it difficult to establish a new guild among so many established ones." At this moment, Qin Yanran bit her lip and smiled, saying, "It's not the Qin Group's decision but my own. As for the specific reason, if you agree to join, I'll tell you." I pondered for a moment and said, "One condition: I want the privilege of acting independently. I have the right to refuse participation in any non-essential actions of the guild. Also, I need to temporarily leave the guild for a month." "All right, I agree," she said, extending her delicate hand with a smile. "Classmate Xiao Fan, welcome to my guild. I look forward to our cooperation." "Looking forward to it, classmate Qin." After that, Qin Yanran left me a brand new communicator and then departed. I opened the door and returned to my less than 20 square meter rented room. Just then, a sudden wave of urgency surged in my mind, and immediately, a prompt appeared before my eyes. "Do you agree to release the obsidian dragon hatchling?" Before I could respond, a shimmering summoning circle suddenly appeared in my cramped rented room. The next second, the black-red scaled obsidian dragon hatchling appeared right in front of me. It curiously sniffed around every corner of the room, then flapped its wings and jumped onto the sofa, lazily curling up. "Well, it seems even dragons don't mind a poor home," I thought, feeling quite pleased. However, before I could relax, I noticed the little dragon staring at me intently, innocently letting out 2 ow-ow sounds. The hatchling was hungry. I rummaged through the fridge, found some meat, and just as I took it out, the little dragon snatched it away and swallowed it whole. After it was full, it curled up on the sofa and fell into a deep sleep. Seizing this opportunity, I checked its attributes. After reading, I felt a pang of frustration. After all, I had already signed a contract with this dragon hatchling, making me its master. I focused my thoughts and said, "Dragon hatchling, sit." The sleeping hatchling opened its eyes, gave me a glance, then closed them again, seemingly ignoring me, and continued to sleep peacefully, its tail swaying lazily. "Hey!" I felt a bit deflated. I was certain that the hatchling had received my mental command, but it was simply too lazy to respond. Was there a mistake somewhere? I then sat up, opened the database of First High School, and searched for basic beast taming. Meanwhile, in the control room, Nie Xiaoyu was also typing away at his terminal. However, with his military clearance, he could access more confidential information. In the entire Shangjing city, the highest-grade equipment and weapons were concentrated in 3 places. The first was the military arsenal of Shangjing City. The second was the auction house under the first financial group, Poly Group. The last one, which couldn't be openly mentioned but was known to everyone, was the underground black market. Among them, the highest barrier to entry was the military arsenal, this secret warehouse, specially built for the military. Houses collections that cannot simply be bought with money. Only those with special exchange vouchers and credentials issued by the military can enter to purchase equipment. The golden level weapon exchange voucher I hold is my entry pass. After the heavily guarded sentinels at the entrance verified my credentials, I stepped into the armory. As I looked around, a dazzling array of equipment filled row after row of shelves, neatly organized by different tiers and professions. Heavy armor, leather armor, cloth armor, and robes covered all the equipment usable by professions ranging from warriors to assassins and mages. Various weapons, including greatswords, shields, staves, and bows, were also plentiful. Just the greatsword category alone occupied more than a dozen shelves. However, my goal was not equipment or damage-dealing weapons. I intended to exchange this precious golden-level weapon voucher for a type of offhand weapon, a battle shield. When facing the clawed bear in the trial tower, I relied entirely on agile and precise movements to evade its frenzied attacks. However, monsters in the real world are often much more brutal, with creatures far more agile than the clawed bear being commonplace. Simply dodging will not suffice for every situation. Being able to defend and attack is the hard truth. In the shield section, various shields of different shapes caught my eye. The attributes of this battle shield immediately appeared before me. Tiger General Battle Shield. Golden item. Strength requirement 100 points, defense 300, block effect strong, damage reduction attribute constitution 45, additional attribute counterattack 30, damage increase after a successful block. This is the one. I immediately grabbed the Tiger General Battle Shield. After a thorough registration process, I successfully withdrew this shield from the armory. At this moment, I was walking on the streets of Shangjing City, surrounded by a sea of people. Today marks the first day of the new batch of Awakeners becoming professionals. Not only were all the guilds bustling with recruitment, but many solo players were also looking for fixed teammates on the streets. However, more prevalent were the small vendors selling equipment. For them, this large influx of Awakeners in need of beginner gear was undoubtedly a huge business opportunity. After all, not everyone has enough capital to buy a full set at the auction house. At that moment, a small vendor dressed in denim suddenly stopped me with a gleam in his eye. Hey there, are you also one of the new Awakeners? How about a leveling area map around Shangjing City? Just 50 dragon coins each. And they're the latest for this year. I did not refuse. The leveling areas around Shangjing City are not static. Where new dungeon rifts appear and where monsters are running rampant, this information changes every year. I then tossed out 100 dragon coin note. I'll take a map, and also the latest intel on the major guilds' leveling areas. The denim-clad vendor looked at me with an understanding gaze and quietly pulled out an envelope from his pocket, handing it to me. You really know your stuff. This information was just gathered last night. The leveling areas that the 4 major guilds are planning to monopolize are all marked here. This was exactly the intel I wanted. At the beginning of each batch of awakening professionals, the 4 major guilds often directly occupy a region to train the newcomers they recruit. Many other capable guilds also engage in this practice of territorial dominance. I needed to go to a leveling area that would best avoid these groups, to steer clear of the crowds. As I opened the envelope, I was greeted by several explosive news articles about the new batch of S-level awakeners. Lin Xueming, an S-level professional awakener from First High School, has chosen to join one of the 4 major guilds, the Dominance Guild. First High School S-class professional awakened Wang Biao has joined the Black Hawk Guild. Seeing this news, I couldn't help but squint my eyes. Wang Biao had made it clear back in First High School that he was my arch-nemesis, flaunting all sorts of mischievous tactics. However, Lin Xueming was extremely shadowy. In fact, I had long sensed that Lin Xueming, who followed me every day, was deeply scheming, but I never expected his heart to be so narrow-minded. My kindness towards him had become, in his eyes, a condescending act of charity. Now, Lin Xueming had joined one of the 4 major guilds, Dominion, and was being groomed as a key talent. Given his nature, he would definitely not let this go easily. However, this time, the roles were reversed. He was in the light, and I was in the dark. The Dominion Guild was the wealthiest among the 4 major guilds, with all its resources almost bought with money. The elite members within the guild were all well compensated, and they were particularly generous towards those being groomed as key talents. At this moment, I opened the latest leveling area distribution map and saw several low-risk leveling zones suitable for me. For ordinary awakened ones, the number of monsters to farm wasn't as important as the quality. But for me, every time I killed a type of monster, I could gain corresponding attributes and skills, so the more types I farmed, whether low-level or high-level monsters, the better. Just then, when I saw the distribution of monsters in the abandoned mine, my eyes lit up. I had already experienced the powerful effects of ghost fire toxin in the trial tower, so I was very interested in the toxic specialization. If I could further stack new toxins, it would definitely be a powerful weapon against boss-level monsters. However, when I saw the dilapidated appearance of the abandoned mine, I couldn't help but shiver. I stumbled and fell to the ground. Seeing this, I quickly raised my spear and thrust it fiercely at it. With the sound of the spear piercing flesh, damage numbers exploded from the corpse poison bat 157, 180. Immediately after, I quickly fired a few more shots, directly taking down the corpse poison bat. In an instant, a white light flowed into my body, and the experience bar visibly rose a notch. However, the death of the corpse poison bat attracted more of its kind. In this dark and narrow mine, I had nowhere to escape, and a bat that had slipped behind me suddenly bit me hard on the back. Hint: dizziness value accumulating. I immediately felt a wave of dizziness wash over me, and my head seemed to spin more and more. This was the effect of corpse poison. If I didn't quickly use an antidote, once the dizziness value accumulated to a threshold, it would leave the target completely immobilized in a state of dizziness. Seeing this, I hurriedly pulled out 2 bottles of antidote and drank them down. After a while, the poison state was finally lifted. At this moment, I had witnessed the power of this corpse poison, and I was even more determined to farm this attribute. Then, to improve my monster farming efficiency, I directly activated Beast Blood Boiling. Every time I killed a corpse poison bat, it would refresh the duration, and my output efficiency doubled. After a dozen minutes, the ground beneath my feet was already covered with the bodies of corpse poison bats. Sacrifice. Sacrifice successful. Fire Seed 1. Acquired talent attribute corpse poison. I was suddenly filled with joy and quickly opened the talent attribute panel, only to see a green corpse poison attribute added. Corpse poison B-class attacks that hit the target apply the corpse poison effect, causing continuous toxin damage and accumulating dizziness value. Just then, a giant corpse poison bat hanging upside down on the stone wall appeared above my head. Seeing this, my heart sank and I immediately raised my Tiger Bend shield, readying my battle stance against the threat above. The next second, that giant bat suddenly lunged at me, crashing violently against my shield, instantly knocking me to the ground. As I watched those 2 dagger-like fangs coming towards my neck, I hurriedly raised my shield, but a violent tremor shot through my palm, and I found myself pinned down. To make matters worse, the illumination bug test tube I had inserted at my waist shattered with a crack. In an instant, the entire mine plunged into darkness. Just as I tried to pull out a spare illumination bug from my backpack, a foul wind rushed at me again, slamming into my shield. 197. Even though I was already in a blocking state, I still lost so much health. However, in the pitch-black mine, where I couldn't see my own hand, I thrust my spear forward, but it struck nothing. Immediately after, another wave of foul wind hit me. Without a moment's hesitation, I lunged at the giant Bat King. 134. Target has entered burning in poison states. As 2 lines of prompts appeared, a flame ignited on the giant bat's body. I then raised my shield, closing in step by step, continuously stabbing at the corpse poison Bat King with my crude iron spear, unleashing a series of mixed damage. With a wail from the corpse poison Bat King, it collapsed beneath my crude iron spear. I saw a white light of experience flow into my body. Sacrificed the corpse poison Bat King's spark. I decisively performed the sacrifice ritual. Sacrifice of the corpse poison Bat King's spark successful. Fire Seed 10. Gain talent entry Sonic Probe B grade. Hearing this, I was overjoyed and immediately checked Sonic Probe. Sonic Probe B grade. By emitting high-frequency sound waves that spread outward, it allows the user to probe the surrounding environment and approximate the location of enemies. Effective range 30 meters. Just then, a prompt suddenly appeared before me. Current Fire Seed value 135 points. Would you like to enhance the skill? After pondering for a moment, I chose to enhance Sonic Probe. Consuming 100 Fire Seed points, Sonic Probe B grade enhanced to Ultrasonic Lock-on S grade. Effect emits high-frequency detection using undetectable ultrasonic waves to quickly probe the surrounding terrain and accurately locate the positions and movement trajectories of nearby enemies. Additional entry includes enemies in stealth and sneaking states but not those in avoid state. Effective range 100 meters. Seeing this, I was instantly thrilled. This was simply a divine skill for countering assassins. For the next 3 days, having tasted the sweetness of power, I swept through all the low-level leveling zones around Beijing City. Just 4 leveling dungeons allowed me to. Isn't that just asking for death? A useless profession is ultimately useless no matter how hard you train. You can't catch up to others by even a fraction. Not daring to even approach the mad ramblings I saw, they boldly posted in the class channel of the communicator, and there were even some busybodies who specifically tagged me. I wonder if our former genius seed doesn't need anyone to lead? Call me daddy, and it'll take you to do great dungeons, huh? The person who said this was named Li Feng. In truth, I had no impression of this name, but from now on, I made a note of it. In stark contrast to those slanderous remarks were the flattery directed at the three great professionals Wang Biao, Lin Xueming, and Qin Yanan. The danger level of new dungeons is often unknown. Therefore, the military in Beijing City offers extremely generous rewards to the first conquerors of new dungeons, and in many special dungeons, there are even hidden bosses. This also caused various guilds to flock to the first completion of new dungeons, due to the fact that the areas surrounding the capital city are mostly low-level zones. Even the newly emerged dungeons generally do not pose a high danger level. Therefore, the elites from various guilds often give opportunities to the new batch of awakeners. This new dungeon, for me, is also something I must compete for. A new dungeon means new monsters and new attributes. Early the next morning, I set off alone for the Crimson Scorpion Desert. At that moment, a team spotted me and extended an invitation. Hey, are you new here too? The speaker was a tall guy named Deng Hao, whose gaze kept sizing me up, mainly eyeing the nearly complete set of equipment I had. I turned around to carefully assess his team, judging by their varied outfits. They likely did not come from a single guild but were a makeshift group. There were 2 men and 2 women aside from Deng Hao, who was a warrior. One girl was a mage and the other a priest, while the other guy was an archer. From the patchwork of equipment they wore, their profession levels should be C or B grade. So, I shook my head and politely declined. Sorry, I'm not looking to team up at the moment. With that, I turned and walked away. Just then, a message suddenly popped up on my communicator. I looked and saw it was from Qin Yanran. Xiao Fan, have you heard about the new dungeon appearing in the Crimson Scorpion Desert? I'm on my way, are you coming too? I would like to go, but I have to go approve the guild creation qualifications today, and then I'll be busy with some recruitment matters. I heard that the Black Hawk and Dominance guilds are also heading to the Crimson Scorpion Desert, so be careful on your own. Upon seeing this, a warm current surged in my heart, and I simply replied with a okay. Qin Yanran didn't send any more messages. Soon, I arrived deep in the Crimson Scorpion Desert. There, I saw the new dungeon was a General Lulen's tomb buried beneath the yellow sand, with an unknown danger level. At that moment, the crowd gathered at the dungeon entrance was eager to try their luck, and many who arrived early were already preparing to step into the dungeon first. Just then, a sharp voice suddenly rang out from behind me. Xiao Fan? What are you doing here? I turned to see it was my former deskmate, Lu Ruyan. Upon hearing this, all eyes in the vicinity turned to me. Xiao Fan? That useless profession, not in the capital city. Seeing this, Lin Xueming stepped forward and put his arm around Lu Ruyan's shoulder, provocatively saying, Xiao Fan, you're not following Ruyan here, are you? Ruyan is mine now, so stay away from her. Hearing this, Lu Ruyan looked shyly at Lin Xueming. There are so many people here. What are you saying? However, looking at the pretentious duo before me, I frowned. Well said. But Lu Ruyan, have I ever gotten close to you before? Upon hearing this, Lu Ruyan's expression changed instantly. I know you didn't awaken a good profession, and it must feel bad. Although we are no longer in a relationship, considering we were classmates, I advise you that if you want financial compensation, I can give it to you. But you must apologize to me. Seeing this, Lin Xueming looked at me darkly. Xiao Fan, this isn't the capital city anymore. Today, you must kneel and apologize to Ruyan. As he spoke, he suddenly drew his golden grade longsword. At this moment, a lackey from Dominance also fanned the flames. How dare you bully my brother's girlfriend? Just look at what a useless person you are. Xueming, take him down. But seeing this, I smiled instead of getting angry, coldly looking at Lin Xueming. You keep saying I insulted her. Why don't you tell me how I insulted her? Don't throw around accusations without understanding the situation. What if I refuse to apologize? My indifference, in Lin Xueming's eyes, became the greatest provocation. Behind him, the others were constantly urging him on. Xueming, why waste your breath on this trash? He dared to insult our sister-in-law, just take him out. As an S-Rank professional, Lin Xueming had become a godlike figure in their eyes. To maintain the image he had painstakingly built, he suddenly swung at me. You brought this upon yourself, don't blame anyone else. However, in the next moment, a shield adorned with white tiger patterns appeared in my hand. With a clash of metal, the Hu Ben battle shield perfectly blocked the strike. With the bonus from the brutality attribute, my strength had already reached 100 points. Holding the Hu Ben battle shield, I did not retreat an inch. Instead, Lin Xueming's arm went numb from the impact, causing him to stumble and fall to the ground. Immediately, I thrust the rough iron spear in my hand forward quickly and accurately, pressing it against his throat. Seeing this, everyone was dumbfounded. Lin Shuiming's dazed face twisted into a snarl as he tried to rise and counterattack. But at that moment, the yellow sand beneath our feet suddenly began to shift, causing everyone to sway unsteadily. In the next second, a massive quicksand vortex appeared beneath us, pulling everyone in. The tomb instance of General Lulan has been activated. I charged straight into one of the tomb's entrances. Since the instance was open, there was no need to waste time with Lin Shuiming and the others. Obtaining the special rewards within the instance was the key. Although Lin Shuiming still wore a fierce expression, he quickly calmed down and shouted, "Brothers of the, follow me. We must secure the first clear of this instance." Upon hearing this, the other scattered teams also came to their senses, one by one entering the entrance of the Lulan General's tomb. After jumping into the entrance first, I suddenly noticed 3 of them exchanging glances, then drawing their weapons and surrounding me. "Bro, this treasure chest is ours, so if you know what's good for you, keep your distance," said the bespectacled leader, raising a dagger towards me. He looked like an assassin, while the other 2 were a mage and a warrior. But I felt no panic. Instead, I sneered inwardly. The burial goods of the Lulan General's tomb were not so easily claimed. So, I voluntarily stepped aside to let them approach the treasure chest. "Alright, I won't compete with you, please go ahead." However, the bespectacled man still glared at me warily, saying, "If you're going to leave, then get the hell away and don't be a nuisance." Hearing this, I shrugged and turned to walk towards the stairs in the opposite direction. Then, familiar with the terrain, I went directly to the second floor of the platform, secretly observing the situation in the corridor below. As soon as I disappeared from their sight, the bespectacled man and his companions began to act. He skillfully commanded the frontline warrior to hold the shield at the forefront, while he and another person hid behind, forming a defensive formation. Suddenly, the frontline warrior stepped awkwardly, and with a crisp sound of a mechanism being triggered, several poison arrows shot in from both ends of the corridor. The frontline warrior hurriedly raised his shield to block, but the mage behind him was caught off guard, getting hit in the leg and crying out in pain. But the bespectacled man suddenly kicked him. "What are you shouting for? Quickly drink the antidote." The mage, seeing his health bar rapidly decreasing, hurriedly rummaged through his backpack for a bottle of antidote and gulped it down, managing to stop the poison's effects just in time. But at that moment, the marble slabs in the corridor ahead suddenly began to crumble, and the warrior at the front found himself with nothing beneath his feet, falling down. Fortunately, the warrior reacted quickly, grabbing onto the floor behind him. "Li Xiang, be careful!" the mage shouted as he reached out to grab the warrior's ARM.AT. This moment, the bespectacled man at the back not only did not reach out to save, but instead leaped forward, jumping over the trap with a greedy look on his face as he rushed towards the treasure chest at the end of the corridor. "Brothers, I'll go check out what's in this treasure chest for you. Wang Tong, you better come back here." The mage was instantly furious. With just his own strength, it was difficult to deal with the heavily armored. The 2 looked up and, upon seeing me, revealed grateful expressions. Immediately, as I secured the rope to the railing above the platform, I coldly said to them, "Compared to a piece of golden-level equipment, they are nothing." Just then, with a crisp sound, the treasure chest in front of us opened. Inside lay an ancient-looking golden ring, a highly valuable piece of jewelry equipment that could fetch hundreds of thousands of dragon coins if sold on the black market. Seeing this, the ecstatic Wang Tong couldn't help but reach out to grab it. However, the moment his hand reached into the chest, the teleportation array beneath it was suddenly activated. Wang Tong was both shocked and panicked. Before he could react, he was already sucked into the teleportation array. The next second, he found himself back on the spike trap in the middle of the corridor. Originally lucky to escape, Wang Tong was now hanging in midair above the trap, with only one hand desperately gripping the edge. Seeing this, he hurriedly called for help from his former teammates Li Xiang. "Zhang Wei, pull me up." However, all he received were 2 indifferent gazes. "Wang Tong, you despicable little man. Good luck to you." With that, Li Xiang pulled his teammate Zhang Wei and, after expressing gratitude to me, left directly. After his pleas for help went unanswered, Wang Tong quickly turned to look for the rope I had just put down, only to find that I had already taken it back. "Thank you for scouting the way for me." Saying this, I gently picked up the ring from the treasure chest and equipped it directly. The ring's attributes immediately appeared before me. Jade Ring Golden Item Level Requirement Level 20 effect has a refreshing effect and is also the key to opening the General's Tomb. Spirit 50, Strength 50 additional attribute Clarity Dizziness Resistance 35. Hearing this, I was overjoyed. Then, I put the jade ring on my hand and flaunted it to Wang Tong. "Hehe, it looks pretty good." Seeing this, Wang Tong's eyes turned red with anger, but he quickly forced a smile. "Brother, since you've already taken the equipment, I beg you, have mercy and save my life. I can't hold on much longer, and I will definitely repay you well once I get out." Hearing this, I initially wanted to refuse to help, but unable to withstand his desperate pleas, I decided to pull the rope and reach out to save him. However, just as I was about to touch him, he suddenly lunged at me with a dagger. But with a clang of metal, his dagger was firmly blocked by my Tiger Ben shield. Immediately after, I kicked him down hard. No good deed goes unpunished. Go to hell. 1,500. 1,500. As huge damage numbers popped up, Wang Tong had completely turned into a corpse. However, the next scene left me utterly shocked. I actually saw Wang Tong's corpse rise with starfire. At that moment, a prompt that made my whole body shiver appeared before me. Do you wish to sacrifice the starfire of the human practitioner Wang Tong? Looking at the prompt, I couldn't help but feel a jolt in my heart. However, after hesitating for a moment, I chose to confirm. Immediately, a white light dissipated around me. Sacrifice of the practitioner Wang Tong. Starfire successful. Gain skill lockpicking E rank. I then surveyed the surroundings once more, confirming there were no other treasure chests or items to be found, and planned to leave. Just then, I suddenly heard the sounds of a group engaged in battle. Following the noise, I quietly made my way over. I saw a pair of professionals fighting a creature known as the thousand-legged soldier puppet in a side hall. The team consisted of 5 members, with roles ranging from frontline damage dealers to healers, all working together quite well. At that moment, the pair of professionals also noticed me. The leader of the group, a warrior, called out to me from a distance, "Brother, be careful, further ahead are all these kinds of monsters." Hearing this, I smiled and cupped my hands in thanks, saying, "Thank you for the reminder." With that, I raised my Tiger Ben battle shield and walked straight into the dark tomb passage. The pair of professionals in the side hall were somewhat shocked by this scene. One of the team members exclaimed, "Captain, how can that guy just charge in alone? Isn't that a bit reckless?" The captain observed for a moment and replied, "That person doesn't seem like a reckless individual. The shield he's holding is at least a golden artifact. He should be confident enough to solo the thousand-legged soldier puppet. You have received a blessing from the professional Li Shuer Light's protection during the duration. Damage from ghostly attacks is reduced by 20. Upon seeing this, I was momentarily stunned. Although it wasn't a particularly powerful buff, it made me feel the goodwill from this unfamiliar group of professionals. I turned back and waved at them, saying thank you. Moments later, I spotted a thousand-legged soldier puppet not far down the tomb passage. I stepped forward, holding the Tiger Ben battle shield, while thrusting my rough iron spear with the other hand. The thousand-legged soldier puppet also noticed me, and with a series of clattering sounds from its shell, it lunged at me. Seeing this, I quickly steadied the Tiger Ben battle shield in front of me, and a piercing sound echoed through the narrow tomb passage as all damage was blocked by the shield. But at that moment, wisps of black mist suddenly seeped from the creature's hooked limbs, and I felt a jolt of damage hit me. Ghostly damage 34. I was taken aback. I finally understood why the priestess had specifically cast Light's protection on me. It turned out that these thousand-legged soldier puppets had a special ghostly damage. Ghostly damage is a type of damage unique to undead monsters, possessing the ability to ignore physical defenses, and is one of the most troublesome types of monsters. With the Tiger Ben battle shield protecting me, I immediately activated Ghost Fire Toxin, and then thrust the spear, now imbued with Ghost Fire, at the thousand-legged soldier puppet. Instantly, the surface of the puppet ignited. Burning damage 39. As the burning damage erupted, I noticed, illuminated by the flames on the creature, that there were small gaps between its armor plates. A playful smile crept onto my lips. I then thrust my spear sharply, precisely hitting the gap between the scales. This thrust dealt a massive damage 319. Following that, I activated Beast Blood Boiling, increasing my damage and output capabilities. In just 2 minutes. Maybe we can catch up with that guy from earlier. He's alone, so he shouldn't be able to go too far. If anything happens, we can lend a hand. The captain, Hong Liang, nodded in agreement. Let's go. If we run into him, we can invite him to temporarily join our team. With that, Hong Liang led the team into the tomb passage. However, after taking just a few steps, he saw the bodies of 2,000-foot soldier figurines lying in the middle of the tomb passage, and he couldn't help but ask in disbelief, "Lin Fei, how much time did it take us to kill just 1,000-foot soldier figurine?" "Captain, it took at least 10 minutes, the archer Lin Fei replied, his eyes wide open as well. As they ventured deeper into the tomb passage, more and more corpses of 1,000-foot soldier figurines appeared before them. At this moment, Lin Fei, the team's primary damage dealer, felt his worldview shatter. "Captain, what on earth was that monster? It hasn't even been an hour, and that guy has already killed at least a dozen 1,000-foot soldier figurines. His output alone is higher than our entire team's combined." Captain Hong Liang was equally astonished. He then raised the exploration lamp in his hand, carefully observing the corpses of the 1,000-foot soldier figurines on the ground. "That guy seems to have some kind of burning attack. But relying solely on burning attacks, there's no way he could have such high output." Just then, Lin Fei suddenly saw a shadow flash behind Chen Song. "Song Gu, watch out behind you!" Lin Fei shouted urgently, but it was already too late. A pitch-black dagger pierced directly through Chen Son's body. 993. A massive damage number appeared above Chen Son. As a berserker, his health bar instantly dropped to a sliver. With 2 consecutive high damage numbers popping up, his health bar was completely emptied in an instant and he collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Lin Fei quickly shot a glowing arrow into the tomb passage behind them, the bright light illuminating the entire passage as if it were daytime. However, there was no sign of any presence. At that moment, a black dagger hidden in the shadows lunged towards Li Shuer from behind. Shuer, be careful. Seeing this, Li Yang suddenly yanked Li Shuer back and then hurled a fireball spell at the shadow. The shadow, having taken a hit, suddenly became furious and turned to stab Li Yang in the chest with the dagger. Then came a 1332. As a robe-wearing mage, he simply couldn't withstand such high damage. The shadow then vanished from everyone's sight once more. At this moment, Hong Liang's eyes were nearly popping out of his head. Anger surged within him, but there was also a hint of fear and panic. He charged forward like a mad bull, wildly swinging his sword, but he missed. Then he roared, "Who are you? Why? If you have the guts, come out." The next second, a boy with triangular eyes appeared before Hong Liang and the others, the black dagger in his hand confirming his profession as an assassin. The boy then smiled darkly at Hong Liang, saying, "Of course, it's because you are nothing but a bunch of class waste professions." Upon hearing this, a wave of fear surged within Hong Liang. "Xiao Shui! Lin Fei! Run!" Hong Liang shouted suddenly. And then he charged at the boy like an enraged bull, shield raised high. "Captain!" Li Shuer cried out in alarm. At that moment, Lin Fei suddenly remembered what Captain Hong Liang had once told them about what to do in the most critical situations. He then grabbed Li Shuer tightly and ran frantically towards the depths of the tomb passage. Deep within the tomb passage, a massive 1,000-foot soldier figurine crashed to the ground, and immediately, a faint starfire appeared above the figurine's corpse. Starfire of the sacrificed 1,000-foot soldier figurine. Finally, a pleasant voice echoed in my ears. Sacrifice of the 1,000-foot soldier centurion Starfire successful. Gain talent entry Ghostly Resentment A-class. But I didn't have time to check this new entry before a flurry of panic and chaos erupted behind me. He knelt directly at my feet, pleading, "Please, save them." Hearing this, my brows furrowed tightly as I quickly helped up the priest girl who had once given me the protection of light. What on earth happened? We were just attacked by an A-level assassin. Chen Song and Li Yang are gone, and the captain is seriously injured. Now even Lin Fei is about to collapse. Li Shuer's face was filled with terror, her words tumbling out incoherently, her eyes brimming with tears, reflecting sorrow and despair. After listening, I quickly pieced together the truth of the situation. "Take me there quickly." Saying this, I activated ultrasonic lock and water step, and soon I was with Li Shuer. I saw Lin Fei leaning against the wall, covered in wounds, his eyes wide with fear as he raised his bow and arrow, aimlessly targeting the surroundings, with only a sliver of health left above his head. That person was toying with him like a hunter plays with its prey. Just then, the figure suddenly appeared in the tomb passage. A pair of curious eyes looking at me, and Li Shuer found another helper? Just in time, and not done killing yet. Seeing the dying Lin Fei, Li Shuer completely broke down, frantically trying to run over, but I grabbed her arm. "Lin Fei, what happened to you?" Li Shuer cried out. In the distance, Lin Fei's voice was hoarse. At this moment, I raised my spear, shielding Li Shuer behind me, and said to her in a low voice, "If you want to save him, don't go over." From that person's words and expression, I had already seen through her thoughts. What she wanted was a playful hunt, ordinary slaughter. She had long lost interest in it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have revealed herself just now. If Li Shuer ran over, she would definitely kill her in front of Lin Fei first. "It seems you are also a new awakened one?" I suddenly asked. "What grudge do you have against them that requires such a complete extermination?" The person seemed to have heard something amusing. A mad smile appearing on their pale face. "Grudge? There's no grudge at all." Seeing this scene, Li Shuer tightened her grip on my arm in fear. Noticing this, I whispered to her, "Listen to my orders. When I say run, you go save your companion." Li Shuer looked a bit scared but still nodded. Just then, a small stone suddenly flew out from the shadow and landed at my feet. Seeing this, I quickly shielded Li Shuer behind me, holding my spear and aiming in the direction. Then, another stone. Li Shuer, hiding behind me, was on edge, almost crying out of fear. At this moment, I suddenly whispered to her, "Run." Hearing this, Li Shuer gritted her teeth and ran towards Lin Fei without hesitation. At the same time, a dark dagger lunged fiercely at my back. However, the expected sound of the dagger piercing flesh did not occur. Instead, there was a crisp sound of metal clashing. At the critical moment, I suddenly turned around, equipping the Tiger Ben battle shield, perfectly blocking the strike. The person hidden in the shadows was immediately shaken out of their form by the massive shield, their eyes widening in shock. They never expected that this seemingly certain strike would be blocked by me. But I didn't give them any time to think, directly thrusting my spear forward with force. Counterattack. The strike, with a 30 bonus, viciously pierced the person's chest. However, the damage number that popped up surprised me: 275. The person sneered, then took a step back, skillfully creating distance between us. What a good counterattack. Ha, you worthless ones have probably never seen the defense of golden grade equipment, right? However, the fact that you can see through my invisibility is becoming more and more interesting. After saying this, the man pulled out a prop and slammed it hard onto the ground. Smoke, like ashes, instantly enveloped his entire body, and he disappeared from my sight once again. I furrowed my brows immediately. Strong invisibility pearl. This is a more advanced skill for assassins and thieves, allowing them to forcibly enter stealth mode again before their stealth skill has fully cooled down, using certain props. At this moment, the entire tomb passage fell silent once more. Not far from the tomb passage, Li Shuer was using healing magic to preserve the last sliver of Lin Fei's health bar. Seeing this scene, I suddenly put my shield behind me and turned to stride in the opposite direction of the tomb passage. To anyone watching, it looked as if I was abandoning my teammates and fleeing alone. Upon seeing this, despair flickered in Li Shuer and Lin Fei's eyes. But I was betting that the madman's interest in killing me far outweighed theirs. Just then, a chilling voice suddenly reached my ears. Want to run? Don't you think it's a bit too late? The man's speed was incredibly fast, at least half again as agile as I was. The moment that voice came, a black dagger suddenly lunged at him from another direction. The black dagger was so fast it was almost impossible to react. However, a smile crept onto my lips. Then, my figure surged forward like an enraged ghost bear, raising my shield and charging fiercely in one direction. I crashed through the empty air, colliding with a shadow. The earlier voice was a decoy. The shadow that had just appeared beside me was also just a clone. The man's true body, when I forcefully knocked him out of stealth, was filled with shock in his dangling eyes, and before he could speak, he fell into a daze. This was the effect of Berserker Charge. In the midst of his incredulous expression, I thrust my spear, applying Ghost Fire Toxin, Corpse Poison, and Soul's Grievance, as damage numbers exploded one after another, instantly inflicting a series of negative effects on him. How is this possible? How did you see through my clone? Looking at the man's terrified, wide-eyed expression, I coldly replied, you guessed right, I do have a skill that can detect stealth, but I simply didn't use it the first time. The man snapped out of his daze, gritting his teeth, and tried to distance himself from me. However, he suddenly felt a wave of dizziness in front of him, and his movements slowed significantly. Corpse Poison. How is this possible? The man looked at the series of negative statuses on himself. Corpse Poison, burning, and for the first time, fear appeared on his face. But I looked at him, coldly smiling. Where's your strong invisibility pearl? I'd like to see how a person engulfed in flames can go invisible. Without any hesitation, I activated Beast Blood Boiling, and my attack power and speed skyrocketed. The spear in my hand blossomed like a lotus, piercing fiercely into his neck and heart. Each thrust was a critical hit. 518. 679. Damage numbers, mixed with poison and burning effects, rapidly whittled down his health bar. At this moment, the man raised the black dagger in his hand, frantically trying to block, but in front of me, he was as clumsy as a clown, only able to scream in agony as he watched his health dwindle to zero. Who are you? Let me go. I'll give you all the golden gear on me. Deep fear and humble pleading finally appeared on that fair face. However, I had already heard this kind of talk more than once today. There are always some people who see themselves as hunters while viewing others as prey waiting to be slaughtered. But when the circumstances were reversed, to foolishly beg for mercy from others was truly somewhat laughable. I looked at him with a cold smile. Don't kill me. I have a lot of money and property. I can give you whatever you want. As the tip of my gun pressed against his throat, he was still frantically pleading for his life, trying to assert his identity. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the gun's tip had already pierced through his throat, taking away his last breath. 319. I could tell that this man had a significant background. If he came from an ordinary family, he wouldn't have developed such a mad and bloodthirsty nature. But I couldn't spare his life and let him go. It would only bring endless trouble. At that moment, a faint starfire suddenly appeared above the man's corpse. The emergence of this starfire, which only I could see, confirmed that his life had completely ended. Sacrifice the starfire. Taking advantage of the fact that Li Shuer and Lin Fei were still at the other end of the tomb passage, I decisively performed the sacrificial ritual. In an instant, the faint starfire merged into my body, and at that moment, a prompt appeared before my eyes. Starfire sacrifice for a level profession. Ghostblade Assassin successful. Gain talent skill Ghost Shadow Clone a level. Effects summon a clone identical to oneself for a short time. Can remotely control its movement and actions. But the clone does not have a physical form. I didn't expect to obtain this skill. The burning effect on the man's corpse was still ongoing. Without any life recovery, the body would soon be reduced to ashes. Before that happened, I rummaged through his belongings and indeed stripped off 3 pieces of golden-grade equipment: the dark dagger in his hand, the wrist guards, and the breastplate. When I returned to the tomb passage with the 3 golden items, I saw that Lin Fei, under the priestess Li Shuer's healing, had finally managed to survive. The 2 of them trembled as they looked at the equipment and the black dagger in my hands. "He's dead," I said flatly. Upon hearing this, the 2 couldn't help but burst into tears. It was the sorrow of witnessing a teammate die before their eyes, mixed with the complex emotions of having escaped death. Li Shuer suddenly grabbed Lin Fei and knelt down before me. "Thank you, benefactor." Seeing this, I stepped forward to help them up. But my expression showed no sign of relaxation. "Take me to see your teammates," I said in a deep voice. To truly eliminate future troubles, not only must the killer's body be dealt with, but those who were killed by him must also be cleaned up. For an unknown large family, any trace left behind could potentially become a noose around their necks in the future. Li Shuer and Lin Fei exchanged glances, their faces once again revealing immense sorrow. After a moment, Lin Fei led Li Shuer and me back to that nightmarish tomb passage. The first thing that caught my eye was Li Yang's corpse. This man, dressed in a robe. Then there was the berserker Chen Sung's body, lying face down on the ground, his fatal wound on his back. Just then, sharp-eyed Lin Fei suddenly noticed a body leaning against the wall in the corner of the tomb passage, which suddenly trembled. It was their captain, Hong Liang. "Captain! Captain!" Seeing this, Lin Fei rushed over, discovering that Hong Liang still had a breath left. "Xiao Xue, the captain is still alive." Upon hearing this, Li Shuer also rushed over frantically, waving her staff, trying to cast a healing spell. However, having already exhausted her magic power, she cried in desperation but could not cast it. In a panic, I quickly walked over, handing Li Shuer a bottle of mana potion while taking out a bottle of blood potion, supporting Hong Liang to drink it. At that moment, Hong Liang had already lost his human form. Although he still had a breath left, the tendons in one arm and both legs had already been severed. Li Shuer and Lin Fei discovered that their captain, Hong Liang, was still alive. Initially, they were overjoyed, but then they realized that Hong Liang had been. "Your captain's injury must be treated within a month," I said. "So, you no longer have time to grieve." Li Shuer and Lin Fei exchanged glances, and the light in their eyes gradually dimmed. Their professional team had worked diligently in dungeons every day, exchanging the materials they gathered for money, and after a whole year, they had barely saved up over 100,000 dragon coins. To gather 2 million dragon coins in just a month was simply a pipe dream. Just as they were at a loss, I tossed 3 pieces of golden equipment, which I had stripped from that person, in front of them. These 3 pieces of golden equipment come with top-tier attributes. If sold on the black market, they could fetch nearly 2 million dragon coins. However, don't find a way to sell them in another black market. It must be done discreetly. I didn't look down on these 3 pieces of golden equipment, but wearing them was like flaunting a weapon. The best way to handle them was to sell them in the black market of another city. Even Lin Fei and Li Shuer knew the value of these 3 pieces of golden equipment. Giving them to them was like saving their captain's life once more. "Thank you," Li Shuer said, biting her lip. Lin Fei, who had always regarded Captain Hong Liang as his older brother, looked at me with deep gratitude. "Benefactor, please leave a name. I, Lin Fei, owe you a life." Unexpectedly, I shook my head and said coldly, "It's better that we don't know each other's names. You should also be aware that the person behind this is not small. Now that he has died in this dungeon, someone will definitely come to investigate. If you don't want to be hunted for revenge after you go out, what happened in this tomb must not be known to others." After exchanging glances, Li Shuer and Lin Fei nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Li Shuer took out a map from her backpack and said to me, "Benefactor, I cannot repay your kindness, so please accept this map. Our captain, Hong Liang, found it by chance in a side hall when we first arrived at the General's Tomb dungeon. It depicts the entire map of the General's Tomb, and the path to the main hall should be on it." Seeing this, I smiled. Li Shuer handed over an ancient piece of parchment on which someone had meticulously drawn the paths of the tomb and the numerous chambers, clear and precise. Then, Li Shuer and Lin Fei helped Captain Hong Liang up, their eyes filled with sorrow, saying, "Our team can no longer continue. We must quickly take the captain out for treatment. I've heard that everyone is looking for the main hall of the Lulan General's tomb. You must get there before them." I took the map and couldn't help but take a deep breath. "Alright, let's exchange contact information. If I find something valuable in the main hall of the tomb, I'll share it with you once we get out." Upon hearing this, Li Shuer hesitated, but I didn't wait for her to refuse and sent a contact device invitation. "Farewell," I said, turning to leave. As I continued deeper along the tomb path, I carefully examined the parchment map. The map was drawn in great detail. It turned out that the entire Lulan General's tomb was divided into 3 levels: upper, middle, and lower. The path I was currently on was at the top level. According to the map, the main hall of the Lulan General's tomb was located at the very center of the deepest level. To reach the main hall, there was also a special path that could directly pass through the middle second level. Suddenly, I had an epiphany. Soon, I followed the markings on the map and arrived at a stupa. Seeing that there was no one around, I directly activated water change step and climbed up the stairs. Looking up, I saw that on the tip of the tower, there was indeed a glowing treasure chest. I carefully observed and confirmed that there were no teleportation traps, then decisively cast unlocking spell, and in just a few moments, I opened the glowing treasure chest before me. Inside lay an ancient-style jade qilin necklace. Grade silver, level 30. This jade necklace was crafted using the special techniques of the Lulan kingdom, symbolizing the general's distinguished status. Although it was just a silver item, it had an extremely low drop rate and provided dual attribute bonuses. Following that, I immediately followed the map's guidance, using water change step and ultrasonic lock-in to smoothly rush to various locations, opening all 3 remaining treasure chests, which yielded Qingyu beast skin boots, jade guardian chestplate, and ice silkworm wrist guards. All their attributes perfectly matched my pursuit of both strength and agility, and they were golden items with special attributes, with the ice silkworm wrist guards even adding an extremely rare critical hit rate. Along the way, the experience gained from dealing with the blocking soldier puppets finally brought my level to 30. I allocated all my attributes, as always, directly into agility, which instantly revitalized my overall stats. Then, I skipped the second floor and arrived at the secret passage on the 3rd floor. I used the ultrasonic shield to detect the entire terrain and other information. Sure enough, there were quite a few moving guard monsters in groups of 3 around me. Seeing this, I opened the sheepskin map in my hand again, using the light from the illuminating bud to check the markings. The main hall of the Lulan General's tomb was located in the central area of the 3rd floor, and this necessary path just happened to be patrolled by 2 groups of guard monsters. Without any hesitation, I advanced with my shield. Suddenly, the 3 grouped monsters lunged at me fiercely. I saw that there were 3 of them, one wielding a spear and another with a crossbow. At the same time, the attributes of these 3 guard monsters appeared before my eyes. Lulan Imperial Guard level 35 attributes unknown. These were elite guards personally trained by the great general of the Lulan kingdom, and the grouped guards posed a lethal threat to anyone who intruded. Upon discovering my presence, they immediately displayed a fierce demeanor. The leading guard struck his sword against his shield, attempting to let out a battle roar. However, after years of decay, his jaw had become a mass of rotten flesh, producing only a strange woo-woo sound. The one holding the spear charged at me right after. Meanwhile, with the sound of a crossbow mechanism, a crossbow bolt shot towards me from a distance. Seeing this, I raised my shield to block, feeling the immense force of the bolt, but fortunately, it was not enough to break through the blocking effect of the Tiger Ben War shield. Then, the 2 melee guards had already rushed up to me, and suddenly, the spear wielder thrust directly at my waist with incredible speed and ferocity. I had no way to dodge. 513. A damage number instantly popped up from my body. Seeing this, I quickly thrust my spear into his chest. 451. As a damage number appeared, a recovery number also showed up on my body. 113. This was the bloodthirst attribute dropped from the infected wolf pack, which granted a 5 lifesteal effect on attacks. However, under the 5x recovery effect of the Scrade attribute photosynthetic recovery, it turned into 25. This was my trump card for fighting multiple enemies. Subsequently, I raised my shield with my left hand to block, while my right hand thrust the spear, engaging in a back-and-forth battle with the 2 encroaching guards. Although my health bar dropped a bit, I had already reduced the shield-wielding guard's health to a sliver. Just as I raised my gun to take his life, a sudden barrage of crossbow bolts shot towards me, their speed several times faster than before. I had no choice but to retreat and raise my shield to block. Looking up, I saw the crossbowman in the distance had actually planted his bolts into the ground. It turned out that this hidden crossbowman was the real killing machine. At that moment, I squinted my eyes, quickly calculating my health, then suddenly charged forward, braving the damage from the volley of arrows, and took down the foremost shield guard with a single shot. At the same time, I was hit by several arrows, and my health instantly dropped to half. I hurriedly raised my shield and retreated, downing a health potion. Fully restored, I activated Beast Blood Frenzy and charged forward again. I braved the crossbowman's barrage, ruthlessly eliminating the spearman, and then charged fiercely towards the distant crossbowman. Moments later, 3 members of the Lulan Guard fell one after another before me, one of them dropping a Lulan-style feathered helmet. And this, Lulan Guard's spark sacrifice successful. Fire Seed 9. After regaining my status, I chose to continue forward. At this point, only a long corridor remained between me and the main hall marked on the sheepskin map. However, within the corridor, there was still a pair of Lulan guards hiding in the path I had to take. It was still the same configuration: a sword and shield warrior, a spearman, and a crossbowman. But this time, with experience on my side, I activated Water Change Step and Brutal Charge, taking the initiative to rush towards the hidden crossbowman. I took him out. The bewildered crossbowman hadn't even had time to plant his crossbow into the ground. Without the rear crossbow killing machine, the remaining shield and sword warrior and spearman suddenly thrust forward in battle, making it almost impossible to enhance step thrust. I directly chose to enhance step thrust. Enhanced 2. Thunderstrike Thrust effect. Move a short distance forward with lightning speed and thrust at the target, dealing 180 physical damage. Cooldown 10 seconds. Additional attribute. This skill can critically hit. After that, I didn't dare to linger here, following the guidance of the sheepskin map to the main hall. This was the deepest and central part of the Lulan General's tomb, the resting place of the former general of the Lulan Kingdom. The entire Lulan General's tomb resembled a giant underground city. At this moment, I stepped forward and pushed open the grand doors of the main hall with all my strength. Then, I raised my Tiger Ben War shield, cautiously stepping inside. The entire main hall was exceptionally spacious, and what caught my eye were rows of soldier figurines, neatly arranged as if a great army was ready to march, the atmosphere grim and fierce. Even I felt a chill. Seeing this, I took small steps, not daring to make a sound. At that moment, I noticed at the end of the soldier figurine formation there was a stone-carved four-horse chariot, atop which lay a gilded coffin. This was the resting place of General Fu Hua of the Lulan Kingdom. At this moment, I felt like a tomb raider. But since I had come this far, I sought the treasure chests buried with him. I quickly looked around and saw 3 shining golden treasure chests surrounding the coffin. I apologize for the disturbance. I instinctively bowed to General Fu Hua's coffin. Just then, I suddenly heard a commotion coming from the corridor behind me. I immediately thought it was bad news and then activated Water Change Step, rushing towards the 3 treasure chests at the back of the main hall, hurriedly pulling out my lockpicking tools and working frantically. With a crisp sound of unlocking, the first treasure chest opened, revealing a black cloak inside, the tail of which was embroidered with a sandstorm-patterned black moon cloak golden item. I didn't have time to carefully examine its attributes and hurriedly moved on to the next treasure chest. It wasn't long before the second chest opened with a sound, revealing a flowing golden longsword sealed within its sheath, adorned with various carved gemstones on the hilt. King's Gift Sword golden item, level requirement 50. However, at that moment, the noise coming from the corridor behind me grew increasingly closer. I quickly cast lockpicking and opened the third chest as fast as I could. Not even taking a glance, I darted to hide behind the back of the main hall. There, I found a smooth wall with no place to conceal myself. Just then, I noticed a groove on the wall. Suddenly, I remembered the ring I had obtained from the treasure chest in the corridor. It was the key to opening a hidden chamber in the tomb. I hurriedly took off the ring and inserted it into the groove. At that moment, the originally smooth wall suddenly revealed a tiny secret door. Without hesitation, I squeezed through. The door to the secret chamber slammed shut behind me, and the smooth wall showed no signs of anyone who came would never guess that someone was hidden behind it. Meanwhile, the commotion had reached the entrance of the main hall. Xue Ming, look, the main hall is right there. We finally found it. At this point, the noisy crowd had entered the main hall, sounding like at least 30 or 40 people. Someone with sharp eyes had already spotted the 3 treasure chests behind the four-horse chariot coffin and excitedly shouted, Xue Ming, look, there are treasure chests. Quick, take me to see. Lin Xueming's eyes also sparkled with joy as he rushed to the side of the chests. Where's the rogue class? Hurry up and unlock it. Lin Xueming called out impatiently. Hearing this, a rogue from behind hurriedly stepped forward, pulled out a set of lockpicking tools, and began to fumble with them. Nearby, Lin Xueming held his breath, his eyes filled with desire. At that moment, Lu Ruyen walked over, linked her arm with his, and sweetly said, Xueming, what do you think is in there? Feeling the warmth on his arm, Lin Xueming felt a bit lightheaded and replied, Don't worry, Ru Yan, as long as it's mage gear you can use, he'll definitely give it to you first. Upon hearing this, Lu Ruyen was filled with joy, her eyes sparkling. Although Lu Ruyen was also a great fire element mage, she had contributed nothing in the dungeon. She either pretended to be scared and hid in Lin Xueming's embrace when encountering monsters or complained of fatigue after just a few steps, retreating to the back. During team fights, her performance was even worse, randomly casting skills without understanding team coordination. Now that a treasure chest had appeared, those diligent mages who had been dealing damage had no chance to choose first. However, the few of them exchanged glances, feeling helpless. Just then, a crisp sound of unlocking echoed, and the treasure chest opened. The rogue peered inside and immediately widened his eyes. Seeing this, Lin Xueming pushed forward only to find that the chest was completely empty. This is impossible. Lin Xueming suddenly felt a bad premonition, his gaze shifting to the other 2 chests beside him as he coldly said, Go, open those 2 chests and see. Hearing this, the rogue rushed over with the lockpicking tools. A few minutes later, Lin Xueming looked at the 3 empty chests, his face pale and silent. At this moment, I, hiding behind the main hall, took the opportunity to carefully examine the items I had obtained from the treasure chests. The first chest contained a pitch-black cloak. Although the cloak's attribute boost wasn't high, it came with an active skill. Time of the Black Moon. Upon activation, my form became blurred and my movement speed increased by 50. Coupled with the speed boost from my water change step, it was simply a divine skill for escaping after killing and looting. The second piece of equipment was a dazzling King's Gift Sword. It came with a special attribute, Royal Majesty. When killing a target, it instills a deterrent effect on nearby enemies, preventing them from counterattacking or parrying for a short time. The final piece of equipment was a half-jade Lulan Tiger Talisman. Grade Epic Item Attribute Eagle Tiger Talisman. Upon activation, all allies within the talisman's range instantly recover 50 of their maximum health. Effective range 1000 meters. Cooldown 12 hours only. After being brilliant and extraordinary, does one reach epic level equipment? From the description above, it seems this Lulan Tiger Talisman has another half. The Young Tiger Talisman. Collecting both halves of yin and yang to merge into one can face 1,000 troops. Just then, outside, Lin Xueming's furious voice echoed, "Search. Turn this place upside down for me." I refuse to believe that after all the hard work to get here, there's nothing. Upon hearing this, the group from Baiyi immediately began to stir in the main hall, like a whirlwind. However, the outcome left Lin Xueming extremely dissatisfied. Seeing Lin Xueming's dark expression, the surrounding Baiyi members dared not speak. At that moment, Lu Ruyan's gaze fell upon the coffin pulled by 4 horses. "Xueming, don't be anxious. Do you think the real treasure might be hidden in this Lulan general's coffin?" Lu Ruyan's words instantly brightened Lin Xueming's eyes. He couldn't help but think precious things are often placed in one's own coffin. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in Lin Xueming's eyes and he waved his hand. "Brothers, open the coffin." The Baiyi members accompanying him looked shocked. "Brother Xueming, are we really going to open this coffin?" "There's no need to take this risk." Hearing this, Lin Xueming coldly swept his gaze over the Baiyi members. "What are you afraid of? We have over 40 people here, all elite members from the branch. I'll personally lead you to fight the boss today. Everyone, get back to your positions. Shield warriors to the front. Mages and archers, step back." Lin Xueming issued orders with an undeniable attitude. Upon hearing this, the Baiyi members quickly followed the command and arranged themselves accordingly. As the captain and also a melee class, Lin Xueming stood at the very front. He strode confidently to the coffin pulled by 4 horses, then thrust his sword fiercely into the gap of the coffin. Next, he activated his skill. Instantly, a crack opened in the sealed coffin. In an instant, a stream of black water, like mercury spilling, leaked out from the coffin. The coffin, sealed for hundreds of years, suddenly erupted with a tremor. "Damn it, there really is something alive inside." Lin Xueming dared not stay at the front and turned back to join the team, standing in a line with several shield warriors. "Everyone, don't panic. Prepare to activate buff." Lin Xueming appeared very confident. But the next second, the lid of the coffin suddenly exploded open. A towering figure, far exceeding the average person, stood up from within. His muscles were rigid, and his eyes glowed red. He tightly gripped a blood-red spear, standing defiantly in front of the 4 horse-drawn. Saying this, Lin Xueming swung his sword fiercely. 95. A number barely over 100 left Lin Xueming in shock. This was his damage skill as an class professional. Meanwhile, waves of sword shadows and explosive flames from the Baiyi formation fell upon the Lulan general before them like a torrential storm. However, the numbers that emerged were both shocking and laughable. 45. 33. 9. At the same time, the attributes of the general of the Lulan kingdom slowly unfolded before everyone. Lulan Corpse General Hatching Level 50 Golden Boss Health 500,000. The invincible general of the ancient Lulan kingdom who swept through the nations in life was buried here with royal honors after death, enduring 100 years. Anyone who disturbs the general's peace will become a soul beneath the blood-red spear. Lin Xueming looked on, his eyes nearly bursting with rage. This was far beyond the capabilities of their group, none of whom were above level 40. Not to mention that staggering health bar of 500,000. The members of the Baiyi team were also trembling at this moment. However, it was too late for regrets. At this time, the general of the ancient Lulan kingdom had bloodshot eyes, revealing a blood-red spear in his hand, which suddenly erupted with a burst of light, sweeping towards the Baiyi camp with an unstoppable force. "Defend!" Seeing this, Lin Xueming shouted anxiously. The shield warriors in the front row immediately raised their shields to protect the formation. However, a blood-red spear light swept across, dealing near-instant kill damage to these elite shield warriors of Baiyi. The shield warriors Lin Xueming brought this time were all above class, each equipped with at least a few pieces of silver gear. Their defenses accumulated to over 1,000. Yet, before this level 50 golden boss, they were as fragile as paper. At that moment, the Lulan Corps general suddenly swung the blood-red spear in his hand, dealing damage of 2 to 3,000 continuously. Seeing this, Lin Xueming hurriedly shouted, "Back row healers, keep up." Instantly, beams of white healing light swept from the back of the formation. I concentrated all my healing skills on the few shield warriors in the front row, managing to pull their health bars back up. "Very good," Lin Xueming exclaimed with joy. "As long as we don't get one-shot, we have hope. Damage dealers, focus your fire." Following that, Lin Xueming unleashed a suspended ice slash on the Lulan Corps general. 291. Seeing this, the mages and archers in the Bai Yi team immediately followed up with their damage. A few minutes later, they finally whittled down over 10,000 health points from the Lulan Corps general. Everyone in Bai Yi saw this scene and felt as if they had been injected with adrenaline, seeing hope. "Hold the line," Lin Xueming shouted especially excitedly. It should be known that if he could lead the team to take down this level 50 golden boss, it would be the first of its kind in the entire Shangjing city, even nationwide. It would definitely be the first golden kill for this generation of Awakened. Not only would the higher-ups of the Bai Yi Guild look at him differently, but he could also rise to fame as a commander. However, things were not as simple as he thought. At this moment, taking advantage of everyone's attention being on the Lulan Corps general, I quietly opened a crack in the secret room door. Just then, Lu Ruyan suddenly waved her staff, unleashing a series of fire explosions that landed on the Lulan Corps general, causing a considerable amount of burning damage. However, Lu Ruyan's actions directly enraged me. The Lulan Corps general glared fiercely at Lu Ruyan, who was at the center of the team, and suddenly used the skill Crescent Moon Sweep, gripping the blood-red spear with both hands and violently sweeping towards the front row. In an instant, massive damage erupted. The 5 shield warriors in the front row of the Bai Yi team were all sent flying. Following that, the Lulan Corps general charged into the Bai Yi formation, heading straight for Lu Ruyan. "Ruyan, be careful." To everyone's surprise, he did not recklessly block in front of the Lulan Corps general but instead hid to the side. "Front row shield warriors, hold the line." Lin Xueming shouted fiercely. However, the team from the Bai Yi division he led was made up entirely of newly awakened professionals from this generation. They hadn't spent much time together, and their trust in him as the captain was shallow. In the moment when the Lulan Corps general charged into the formation, wreaking havoc, everyone panicked and scattered in a desperate bid for survival. "Xueming, save me!" Lu Ruyan shouted in a flurry. Yet, amidst the chaos, Lin Xueming didn't even glance her way. At that moment, the Black Hawk Guild, led by Wang Biao, had also arrived in the main hall. Witnessing the tragic and chaotic scene before him, Wang Biao couldn't help but smirk with schadenfreude. "Lin Xueming, how did your Bai Yi end up in such a sorry state?" At this point, Lin Xueming was already flustered and lost, and seeing Wang Biao reveling in their misfortune only made him grind his teeth in anger. "Wang Biao, stop with the smug remarks. This is a level 50 golden boss." Upon hearing this, Wang Biao was taken aback, and looking at the dismal state of the Bai Yi Guild, he couldn't help but ponder. After a moment of thought, Wang Biao's eyes suddenly hardened. "Lin Xueming, let's make a deal. We'll help you take down this boss, and after it's done, we'll split the loot." Hearing this, Lin Xueming couldn't help but spit in anger. They had worked hard for half a day and had already lost several teammates, and now they were expected to share the spoils with Black Hawk. But now, Lin Xueming had no other choice. Gritting his teeth, he replied, "The loot will be split evenly, but we Bai Yi get to choose first. After all, we've already lost. Deal." With that, he personally led the frontline warriors of Black Hawk into the fray, quickly using Sky Shatter Slash to draw the boss aggro onto himself. At this moment, the entire Black Hawk team entered the fray, with frontliners, mages, and healers forming a solid formation to stabilize the situation. Meanwhile, the Bai Yi members took the opportunity to reorganize and intersperse themselves within the Black Hawk formation. "All backline healers, focus on me," Wang Biao shouted confidently. Just then, the Lulan Corps general suddenly swung its blood-red spear at Wang Biao. 1284. However, with the combined healing of over a dozen healers, that damage was instantly healed back. Under the collective assault of the 2 top guilds, the Golden Boss health bar was reduced by half in just half an hour. Seeing this, Wang Biao and Lin Xueming exchanged excited glances. However, they were unaware that I, hiding in the secret chamber, was just as thrilled. At this moment, I had donned the Black Moon Cloak, quietly calculating the distance from the secret chamber to the Lulan Corps general and then to the exit of the main hall. Meanwhile, under the joint bombardment of the 2 guilds, the Lulan Corps general's health had dropped below half, and its furious counterattack was forcefully absorbed by Wang Biao. But as the Lulan Corps general's health continued to dwindle, Lin Xueming and Wang Biao began to harbor ulterior motives simultaneously. It is well known that the player who delivers the final blow to a boss receives half the experience, while the remaining half is shared among all present. They were preparing to steal the last hit. Those familiar with their captain's intentions from both Bai Yi and Black Hawk began to coordinate with each other. However, Lin Xueming, as the main melee attacker, was too obvious in his lack of effort, which drew the ire of many in the Black Hawk Guild. Hey! Your Bai Yi captain is just slacking off. He hasn't dealt any damage this whole time. If you ask me, your Bai Yi's output is just as pathetic as your captain. In response, the Bai Yi members immediately retorted, when did it become your place to criticize our captain? Just take care of yourselves. You Black Hawk latecomers should be grateful for the free ride. Without us, you would have been wiped out long ago. When this boss is about to die, everyone get ready to cooperate with me for the finishing blow. The last hit on this golden level boss must not be stolen by Black Hawk. The people from Bai Yi received the instructions through the communicator channel and each one secretly prepared themselves. Wang Biao directly shouted at the Bai Yi members, everyone get out of my way. Let's see who dares to steal the last hit from me. At that moment, the health of the Lulan Corps general finally approached the killing line. Seeing this, Wang Biao gripped his dragon coiling staff tightly and stomped hard on the ground. The massive tremor caused the surrounding Bai Yi members to stagger back, clearing a space around the boss for the final hit, aiming at the boss, ready to unleash his killing move. However, Lin Xueming was even more cunning. At this critical moment, he suddenly said in the Bai Yi chat channel, all damage-dealing classes in Bai Yi, stop your attacks. Instantly, half of the mages and archers halted their actions, cutting the team's output in half. The boss's health bar, which was about to reach the killing line, suddenly fell short by a fraction. At this moment, Wang Biao's killing move struck the Lulan Corps general, dealing 816 damage. However, it did not take away the last sliver of health. Just then, Lin Xueming charged out from behind, his sword emitting a burst of cold air, heading straight for the Lulan Corps general. Lin, how dare you play dirty with me? Wang Biao couldn't help but roar in anger upon seeing this. However, his killing move had already entered cooldown, and ordinary attacks could not take down the boss's last health bar in such a short time. Frustrated and anxious, Wang Biao gritted his teeth and stood directly in front of Lin Xueming. Wang Biao, get out of my way. Otherwise, I'll take you down with him. Lin Xueming shouted fiercely, his eyes wide with urgency. But at that critical moment, a shadow suddenly emerged from the wall behind the main hall, rushing towards the Lulan Corps general, which had only a sliver of health left, at an incredible speed. The shadow activated Beast Blood Boiling and Water Step, using the skill Lightning Stab to instantly take down the boss with a single shot. The movement speed was so fast it appeared as a blur, making it hard to see in the dim tomb. Before anyone could react, a damage number had already appeared behind the Lulan Corps general. With a reluctant roar, the Lulan Corps general fell to the ground. A prompt appeared before everyone. Congratulations. You hit a Bai Yi assassin behind, how cunning. Wang Biao mistook that shadow for a Bai Yi member and couldn't help but curse. Lin Xueming was also taken aback, then immediately reacted, his eyes wide. What? Wasn't that one of your Black Hawk people? What do you mean? No. Damn it. Stop him. I activated the skill Black Moontime attached to my cloak, increasing my movement speed by 50 for 30 seconds. My figure became blurry, making it impossible to see clearly. Soon, I burst out of the main hall and turned into a tomb passage. At that moment, beams of white light fell upon me, and the experience from this finishing blow allowed me to level up 8 times. Without any hesitation, I decisively allocated all the attribute points gained from these 8 levels to agility. Just then, a familiar prompt sounded in my ear. Lulan Corps General Starfire Sacrifice successful. Fire Seed 100 gain talent skill Full Moon Sweep A rank. Although my running posture was a bit awkward, I couldn't help but grin from ear to ear. I suddenly felt that Wang Biao and Lin Xueming were simply my lucky stars. At the same time, a commotion and shouts erupted behind me. However, with my speed reaching its peak, I took advantage of the effect of the Black Moontime still lingering, and thought, where did that kid run off to? Lin Xueming hurriedly led his team to chase after me, but upon reaching the three-way intersection, he looked a bit dumbfounded. So, I held my breath, lightened my steps, and quietly waited for this group to pass before emerging from the dark room and running in the opposite direction towards the main hall. Along the way, there were no signs of anyone. No one would expect that I would dare to run back. The so-called most dangerous place is the safest place. The ancestor who designed the entire general's tomb clearly understood this principle. At this moment, I smoothly returned to the main hall, found the secret passage to escape the tomb instance hidden beneath one of the thousands of soldier figurines standing in the main hall. It was square-shaped, just big enough for a person to crawl out. But just before I was about to leave, I noticed something unusual. Outside the Lulan general's tomb instance, there was still a crowd of people, and many latecomers were eager to get a piece of the action. When they arrived at the instance entrance, they were informed that a chase was underway inside. The Bai Yi and Black Hawk guilds had joined forces to hunt down in a class agile profession wearing a black cloak. Even at the entrance of the instance, there were heavily armed members of these two guilds guarding it, strictly checking every agile profession coming in and out. At that moment, many people were watching the excitement with glee, and quite a few had already. After changing out of the conspicuous black moon cloak and some golden gear, I now looked like a mid-level warrior, easily blending into the crowd of onlookers. I listened to the whispers around me, someone claiming to have a significant background and adhering to the principle that ignorance is the best disguise. I ended him before he could finish. But now, I had to consider the worst outcome. However, I had handled things quite cleanly in the instance. Even the bodies and equipment had been completely burned away by the starfire sacrifice ritual, leaving no trace to investigate. Meanwhile, from the murmuring crowd, I heard an absurd yet convincing statement. Have you heard? The fourth young master of the polygroup is here at the general's tomb instance. So many people from the polygroup came just to escort him. I heard this fourth young master of the polygroup has a very mischievous and eccentric personality, and he has awakened in a class assassin profession. Shoo! Let me tell you a secret. I heard he was the one who killed members of both the Ba Yi and Black Hawk guilds. No wonder. Who else besides this fourth young master of the polygroup would have the guts to take on members of the two major guilds? As the actual culprit, I was left somewhat dumbfounded. When I activated Black Moon Time and snatched the final kill experience and equipment from the Lulan Corps General from Ba Yi and Black Hawk, my movement speed nearly doubled, leading them to mistakenly believe I was at least in a class, and wearing a huge black hood that covered half my face, with my profession being in a class assassin. So, to these onlookers, the act of killing members of the Ba Yi and Black Hawk guilds was attributed to this fourth young master of the polygroup. The powerful imagination of these spectators created a natural escape route for me. At this moment, at the entrance of the Lulan General's tomb instance, the polygroup's convoy was neatly parked in a circular formation. A secretary dressed in the polygroup's uniform cautiously approached the vehicle surrounded in the center, raised her hand, and gently knocked on the door. Uncle Chin, outside, a middle-aged man in his 50s, referred to as Uncle Chin, was leaning casually against his seat. He was Chin Shan, the butler of the chairman of the polygroup. Although he held no official position within the polygroup, he remained a figure of great importance. What rumors? Uncle Chin asked. He knew the personality of the fourth young master whom he had watched grow up since childhood, all too well. In his eyes, the fourth young master was a complete psychopath suffering from a killing obsession. His task today was to keep an eye on the fourth young master and, by the way, clean up after him. This was not the first time he had done such a thing for this young master of the polygroup. No matter how big the mess, Uncle Chin could clean it up thoroughly. This was the result of his decades of experience in the underworld and his value to the polygroup. At that moment, the secretary cautiously said, "Some people say the fourth young master killed members of the four great guilds inside." Upon hearing this, Uncle Chin couldn't help but frown. Was it Black Hawk or Dominance? I heard, both were killed. Now the people from Black Hawk and Dominance are teaming up to hunt down the fourth young master in the instance. Uncle Chin took a deep breath. Find out exactly who the fourth young master has harmed. Also, who is the captain leading the team from Dominance and Black Hawk this time? The secretary hurriedly replied, trembling, "The leader from Dominance is called Lin Xueming, a newly recruited class professional seed this year. Black Hawk's representative is Wang Biao, the president's son." Hearing this, Uncle Chin frowned again, fell silent for a moment, and then said, "Bring a few people and come with me into the instance." 10 minutes later, in a relatively spacious tomb chamber on the second level of the Lulan General's tomb, Uncle Chin sat quietly on a stone tablet. In front of him stood two young professionals, standing respectfully. "Notify your guild's leader in your channel to come over. Tell them the polygroup has something to discuss with them." Uncle Chin's voice carried an undeniable authority. The two newly awakened professionals dared not disobey and immediately contacted their guild's communication channel. Before long, Wang Biao and Lin Xueming appeared together in the tomb chamber. Wang Biao was surprised to see him. "Uncle Chin? What brings you here?" Upon hearing Wang Biao call him Uncle Chin, Lin Xueming also respectfully followed suit. He did not know this butler of the polygroup, but from his attire and demeanor, it was clear that he was no ordinary person. Then, Wang Biao, puzzled, asked, "Aren't you already a fifth transition expert from decades ago? Why are you still interested in coming down to this low-level instance?" Lin Xueming was taken aback. This middle-aged man had been a fifth transition expert decades ago. What level of power must he have reached now? Lin Xueming wanted to ingratiate himself, but his inherent humility and fear made him open his mouth and swallow his words. Uncle Chin smiled at Wang Biao and said, "Xiao Biao, I heard that you from Black Hawk and Dominance are teaming up to catch someone. What's going on?" Upon hearing this, Wang Biao slapped his thigh and gritted his teeth in anger. "I'm sorry to trouble you. We teamed up in the main hall of the third level of this tomb chamber to take down a level 50 golden boss, and just as we were about to succeed, an assassin suddenly appeared, stole the boss, and took all the dropped equipment. Isn't that infuriating? Uncle Chin's eyes moved, then he nodded and praised. You've only just transitioned, and you can team up to take down a level 50 golden boss. Truly impressive. Wang Biao immediately grinned and said, Uncle Chin, you flatter me. Compared to you, it's nothing. At this moment, Uncle Chin casually shifted the conversation and asked, did you see what the person who stole your boss looked like? At this moment, Lin Xueming hurriedly stepped forward and said, Uncle Chin, I can see clearly. Dressed all in black, he's probably at least an A-level professional. I don't know how long he's been hiding in the main hall, but he must be a rat. He really knows how to survive. At this point, Lin Xueming had not noticed that Uncle Chin's expression had subtly changed. So, have you caught him? Uncle Chin asked with a half-smile. Wang Biao shook his head in frustration and said, not yet. The terrain in this tomb is just too complicated. That kid is like a mouse. As he spoke halfway, Wang Biao suddenly realized something. Uncle Chin, did you come here with the fourth young master of the Chen family? Wang Biao's expression changed, and he asked tentatively. Indeed, a clever child, no less than your father, Uncle Chin replied. Meanwhile, Lin Xueming was still in a fog, not understanding what the two were talking about. He saw Uncle Chin stand up and say in a deep voice, both of you will be the pride of the guild in the future, with limitless prospects. Here, I ask you to give me, Chin, a favor and drop the matter of chasing that little thief. As for the level 50 golden boss equipment, my poly group will double the compensation to you. After we go out, my poly group will also help promote your youthful talents. At this moment, Wang Biao's face was expressionless. His mind, knowing the connection between the four major guilds and poly group, he instantly understood the implications and nodded, saying decisively, alright, everything will be as Uncle Chin says. Lin Xueming, although still somewhat confused, also pretended to agree readily, saying, they'll listen to Uncle Chin too. After sending off Wang Biao and Lin Xueming, there was no sign of relief on Uncle Chin's face. Having navigated through perilous situations for many years, he always felt a hint of unease in his heart. Frowning, he said to his secretary beside him, check the location of the fourth young master. The bank card carried by the fourth young master had a unique positioning mark from Polygroup. As long as they were within the same instance space, they could track his location. The secretary immediately took out a special terminal, and after a round of inquiries, a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Uncle Chin. I couldn't find him. What do you mean you couldn't find him? Upon hearing this, Uncle Chin's frown deepened. According to the temperament of his own fourth young master, after causing such a big stir, he should have returned pretending to be dignified. The secretary, already drenched in cold sweat, forced himself to explain, Uncle Chin, within this instance, we really can't locate the fourth young master. Could it be that he has already exited the instance? It was now 3 in the afternoon, with 5 hours left until the evening banquet. Before that, they had to find the fourth young master of the Chen family. There's no time. Immediately dispatch people from the group to seal off the exits. Uncle Chin's face was dark, and his unease grew stronger. However, I, who had already left the ancient tomb, did not return to the rental house immediately but instead circled around those low-level leveling areas to avoid being targeted by anyone. I also took a moment to check the few pieces of equipment I had snatched from Bei and Heiying. At that time, I was too rushed to take a look. Now, opening my backpack, I found 4 additional items inside. The first was a snake-shaped staff, coiled like ancient vine roots. Ancient Lulan Shaman Staff golden item, level 50 additional attribute focus reduces 25 casting time when casting spells. What a superb golden staff. I was instantly delighted. Although this staff was not my specialized weapon, selling it at an auction or on the black market would definitely yield a handsome profit. The second item was a pair of leg armor adorned with black feathers. Its appearance was not particularly eye-catching, but it was polished to an exquisite finish. Great golden equipment, level requirement 50 defense 450 additional attribute light armor movement speed increased by 15. This black feather leg armor was precisely the first choice for agility-based warriors. However, I did not intend to use it but rather save it for when I reach level 50. The third item was a crescent-shaped star moon necklace made of delicate and translucent material, exuding a faint additional attribute. Bravery restores 0.5 of maximum mana per second during combat. Seeing this, I couldn't help but feel both joy and helplessness. The joy came from the fact that this equipment was undoubtedly a mana regeneration artifact for mages, and the additional attribute bravery was something any mage would covet at this stage. But the sadness was that while this star moon necklace was excellent, it was practically tailor-made for mages, with attributes boosting spirit and mana, which was indeed a bit off for me as a strength and agility warrior. Out of the 3 pieces of golden equipment, only one was usable for me. Just as I felt a bit regretful, my gaze fell upon the 4th item. It was a ring with a spiral pattern, engraved with a that radiated not a golden light but a strange blood-red glow. Just holding it in my hand for a moment, a surge of madness rushed into my heart. Demon Ring Brilliant Equipment Level Requirement 50 Additional Attribute Demonization when continuously attacking the same target. Each attack increases attack speed by 5, lasting 15 seconds, up to a maximum of 15 stacks. This demon ring was custom made for me, the agility-based warrior. Coupled with the king's sword I had fished out from the treasure chest in the main hall of the Lulan General's tomb, I had already gathered half a set of level 50 equipment. Once I reached level 50, my combat power would undergo a qualitative change. The next goal was to level up to 50 as soon as possible. What I needed now was a leveling area above level 30, and these high-level zones were all located far from the capital city. But at this moment, I was free and unburdened, and it was just the right opportunity to leave the capital city and lay low for a while. Subsequently, I hung the ancient Lulan Mage's staff and the Star Moon necklace on the online trading system of my communicator. For the next 5 days, I planned to stay in the leveling area until I reached level 50. Little did I know, my departure would cause trouble for someone in the capital city. That person was Nie Xiaoyu, a senior officer dispatched by the military. Originally, she was responsible for designing this year's trial tower, but in a moment of reckless inspiration, she had placed the obsidian dragon cub captured by the military into the trial tower as a hidden boss. However, she never expected that the usually proud dragon cub would be accidentally contracted and taken away by me. In a moment of panic, Nie Xiaoyu quickly found my address in the military database and came directly to my home in plain clothes. To her surprise, she found nothing. Oh no! That guy wouldn't have run off with the dragon, would he? However, undeterred, Nie Xiaoyu blocked my doorstep for 5 days, yet she didn't see a single shadow. At this point, Nie Xiaoyu was completely flustered. If this incident were to, it would be enough to send her to a military court. The more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt, almost in tears. She looked at the major rank she had just obtained, which she hadn't even warmed up to yet now. Not only was she facing demotion, but being expelled from the military would be a stroke of luck. Just as Nie Xiaoyu was preparing to report this matter to the organization, a sudden sound of footsteps echoed from the dilapidated rental building. With the sound of a lock turning, the door to the rental unit opened from the outside. Nie Xiaoyu suddenly sprang up from the worn-out sofa, as if venting her frustration, and hoarsely shouted, "Xiao Fan, where have you been all this time?" Hearing this, I warily looked at her as she stood up abruptly from my sofa. "Wait a minute, this is my home. How did you get in?" I squinted my eyes and asked with my hands on my hips. Nie Xiaoyu was momentarily taken aback by my question, and after a moment, she finally reacted. After waiting all day the previous day without finding me, her temper flared, and she simply had someone break the door lock and moved into my house to wait for me. Nie Xiaoyu stammered, at a loss for words. After all, as a senior officer sent by the military, breaking into someone's home and tampering with their door lock was not something she could easily admit to. You don't need to worry about how I got in." After calming down a bit, Nie Xiaoyu looked at me and asked, "Where's the dragon?" I was taken aback. "Dragon? What dragon?" My mind raced, and I immediately put on an act, saying nonchalantly, "What are you talking about? Are you sick?" However, having witnessed the scene of me contracting the black obsidian dragon cub on the surveillance video, Nie Xiaoyu saw through my pretense and exploded with anger. "Stop playing dumb. The trial tower is hidden." At her words, I was suddenly alarmed. The information in that statement was enough to prove that this woman was not an ordinary person. Realizing this, my expression changed instantly. "Hee, may I ask who you are, miss?" Seeing my attitude, Nie Xiaoyu's anger subsided a bit, and she sat down on the shabby sofa, crossing her legs. "I am a senior officer sent by the military, the designer of this year's trial tower. By rank, you should call me Major Nie." I was taken aback by this revelation. No wonder she knew about my contract with the black obsidian dragon cub. However, once a beast contract is made, it cannot be undone. So, where is the black obsidian dragon cub? Nie Xiaoyu's expression turned serious as she coldly asked. At just over 20 years old, she had been promoted to major due to her outstanding military achievements, and her usual authoritative aura finally settled down. Just a moment," I said, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. In front of this senior officer, it was better to cooperate directly than to hide unnecessarily. I then chose to summon the black obsidian dragon cub to respond with action. However, when I sent out the summoning intent, the black obsidian dragon cub in the summoning space did not respond at all. It seemed to be sound asleep. I had noticed this from the very beginning. An ordinary summoner. Wait, I have a way. I suddenly stood up, pulled a piece of meat from my backpack, and hurried to the kitchen. Nie Xiaoyu watched the scene with some confusion but unconsciously followed me into the kitchen, chattering away about various research topics. Meanwhile, I busily prepared the food while quietly observing her. This Major Nie seemed to be a military research figure. When she talked about her research on the Black Obsidian Dragon, she entered a state of complete immersion, rambling on about various research matters, seemingly forgetting my presence, and I wasn't even sure if I should be listening. Until I plated the cooked meat, I deliberately set out 2 portions. The large Black Obsidian Dragon cub suddenly appeared, its curious vertical pupils scanning the surroundings before precisely locking onto the cooked meat I had prepared, obediently walking over, waiting to be fed by me. At that moment, Nye Xiaoyu, who witnessed this scene, was completely stunned. Was this still the proud and unruly Black Obsidian Dragon of noble blood? Immediately after, her professional instincts kicked in. Nye Xiaoyu carefully observed the Black Obsidian Dragon cub before her. In just a week, the cub had grown significantly. She watched the affectionate scene of one person and one dragon playfully feeding each other, unable to help but fall into deep thought. Contracting this Obsidian Dragon cub was not a bad thing. In a sense, it actually solved the problem for their military. However, a strategic beast like the Obsidian Dragon cub must be paired with a sufficiently powerful practitioner to, the only one who has cleared all levels and reached the hidden layer, an awakener. As a ground-level practitioner, if I can contract an Obsidian Dragon, then I must possess some special talent attribute. Could it be Dragon Affinity? At this thought, Nye Xiaoyu's eyes suddenly sparkled. That was an extremely rare talent, 1 in 10,000. Historically, half of all dragon warriors and dragon knights who sign contracts with dragon clans possess this incredibly rare attribute. A practitioner with the dragon affinity attribute, nurtured in a research base, would surely become a dragon knight in the future. A dragon affinity practitioner is practically a born dragon knight. A practitioner with the dragon affinity talent attribute would have unparalleled conditions when interacting and training with such noble creatures as dragons. Dragons, such advanced beings, even the strongest among humans find it difficult to establish a relationship with them. Therefore, every country pays a huge price to cultivate dragon knights. And even dragons raised from a young age would never easily recognize a practitioner. Thus, for every country, a practitioner who naturally possesses the dragon affinity talent attribute is a tremendous and valuable asset. At this moment, Nye Xiaoyu's heart couldn't help but race. With me as a dragon affinity practitioner, the subsequent plans to cultivate dragon knights could continue, and it might even help me participate in that secret military project. Nye Xiaoyu even felt that military honors were beckoning to her. With this thought, Nye Xiaoyu spoke in the gentlest tone, smiling as she said, Xiaofan, right? At this moment, while I appeared unperturbed on the surface, I had already guessed Nye Xiaoyu's background and thoughts quite accurately. So, I replied, neither humble nor arrogant, Commander, what can I do for you? I noticed that the warmth in Nye Xiaoyu's gaze towards me was no less than that directed at the Obsidian Dragon cub. Xiaofan, do you usually live alone? Seeing Nye Xiaoyu's attitude suddenly take a complete turn, I was momentarily at a loss and replied, yes. However, before I could finish my sentence, I was interrupted by Nye Xiaoyu's surprised exclamation, that's great. Can I move in and live with you? What? I was taken aback. This is a bit too sudden. Although Nye Xiaoyu was quite a bit older than me, she was still a stunning mature woman, and her background was not small either. If she moved in under the same roof as me, what would that mean? Seeing my strong reaction, Nye Xiaoyu suddenly looked a bit pitiful and said, this Obsidian Dragon cub was assigned to me by the organization. Normally, after such a big mistake, I would be sent to a military court. Suddenly, Nye Xiaoyu changed her tone, her eyes shining as she said, but if I can move in and monitor and observe the dragon cub's growth at all times, it would actually be a great help for my research. Our research team has long observed the spatial laws on the scales of the Obsidian Dragon, but we have never been able to confirm it. Moreover, I am the best dragon expert in the military research team. No one knows more about dragon habits and how to tame a dragon than I do. You must have noticed that this little guy doesn't listen to you at all, right? I could see Nye Xiaoyu blinking, but there was a hint of cunning in her eyes as she said to me, half threatening and half tempting, classmate Xiaofan, you wouldn't want to contract a full-fledged dragon and then be unable to have it fight for you, would you? Upon hearing this, I suddenly felt a jolt in my body. Why did this phrasing sound a bit strange? However, even though I had contracted this Obsidian Dragon hatchling, I indeed had not yet found a way to tame this little creature to help me in battle. I had once searched through the entire database of the first high school, but the information on dragon species was indeed scarce. It was evident that the data on such a noble and powerful race should